A slap to your side, a push on my foolish pride. I'm out of my mind. I'm down from the endless high. Don't know who's losing, who's bruising, who's choosing to stick it through. So we fight with fire.
Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. I have a special Secret Kelly radio tonight because I'll be doing a debate with one of my followers on my Facebook. He is a Bernie supporter, and I'm obviously a Warren supporter. So we're going to talk about the differences, and hopefully it is a kind discussion, and hopefully it's not too outlandish. But congratulations to Bernie. I just want everyone to know, if you're a Bernie listener, that I will vote for him in the general, of course. Hi, Madeline. But we are going to talk about this. I'm about to text him. He told me he's going to be running for Congress. He is very into the burn. So let me give him a text because he told me to text after I called. And let's get him on the phone. Give me a second. And all the way tell people I'm online. I always forget about that too. I always forget to tell people I'm online. Sorry, I'm just trying to get him on the phone. Give me 1 second. No, I'm still here. I was trying to get him on the phone. This is the first time I've done this. I texted him. Okay, so I guess he's driving. So we're going to talk about, while we're waiting, how was everyone's week? Did you have a good week? I've been ill. I haven't been feeling well. The AB 2389 bill, the update on that is that so far, um, Christina Garcia has removed the provision of fingerprints, but um, she's still going ahead with the bill, as far as we know. Lorena did remove her name from the bill in support, but now we're working on Christina Garcia. Obviously, if you follow me on Twitter or you follow the union Twitter, you saw all the debacle with that. So we're just hoping that it will be taken care of, because it should be an invalid bill, because no one on the union supported it. No one in the union membership supported it. Not even the national board even knew about it. She did this all on her own. She lied. She used Alana's name. She used former's name, said that we supported it. So this assemblywoman is basically pushing a bill that performers as a whole don't want. So hopefully she will do the right thing like Lorena did, and also pull the bill, because nobody wants it. But we'll see. We shall see. It's just drama, drama, drama. And it's so frustrating, because Alana especially, we all work hard, but Alana especially, mostly it's the girls that do the hardest work. George is mostly the parliamentarian, so he kind of like just makes sure the meetings are run right and smoothly and whatnot. But it's mostly, Alana, me, Ruby, and Amber that do most of the union work. And then India, she does too, but she's usually busy. So, not everyone has as much time as the rest of us do. But every time it's like she does something so crazy, and she's like, she always thinks that she has got good, I have good intent, I have good intent. And then she goes behind our backs and does whatever she wants, like, with the Prop 60 thing. And then now with this, like, what, she doesn't even realize, like, she was the founder of this union, and she's basically killing it. And we've had nothing but pushback since we started, because obviously those at the top don't want a union part of the industry, because they don't want to pay talent more than what they're getting paid. They don't want to have to do a lot of things that we want them to do. They don't want us to have workers' rights. They don't want, the days of Jenna Jameson and Jesse James, those days are over. So, there's never going to be, I don't think there's ever going to be another Jenna Jameson or another Jesse Jane, or Tara Patrick. Those glory days, or Janine Lindenmeyer, whatever. Those glory days are kind of over for the industry. I mean, you have big performers, big talent, but a lot of them suffice their income with, other sex work, either webcamming clip sites or obviously sex work, full service sex work, and things of that nature. But we want it to be where we have a good salary. We have a good retirement. We have good safety measures and precautions and so things like what happened to Nikki Benz doesn't happen. So we're just hoping that after this debacle's over, that we can move forward. We'll see, though. We will see. But I am excited that elections are coming up. I will be running for both. I'll be running again for APAG Union, and then I'm also going to be running for the national board. So if I don't make it onto the APAG Union again, hopefully I'll make it on the national board because I have experience and whatnot, and then hopefully we can clear up the corruption at the top, which is the IEAU. If we put people in there that aren't going to be corrupt and vote Amanda out. So that's the plan forward, I guess. All right, we can call him. So we're going to call him, and we're going to start this debate, and let's go.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. You're on the air right now.
Well, you're in my truck right now, so that's cool.
Okay. So
That's all right. I'm messing with my audio setup. My Bluetooth headset broke, so if you hear an echo through the speakers, let me know.
oh, we don't hear anything. I don't think. Let me ask the chat room and.
Give me a second. I'm gonna unplug my phone. Just hold on.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So what's up?
All right. So just introduce yourself. I was telling them that you're a Bernie supporter and you're thinking about running for Congress. And
Well, I'd like to think that I'm running for Congress first and a Bernie supporter second.
okay.
Yeah, my name is Richard Rowe, R-O-W-E, running for U.S. House of Representatives in Central Florida District 3, which is sort of Ocala to Jacksonville and Gainesville's in that district. It's basically the big dumb redneck part of Florida.
I used to live in Florida. So
Where do you live?
I lived in the Gulfport, St. Petersburg area.
You say Leesburg?
No, St. Petersburg. Gulfport.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, it's a little hard to hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Let me try and turn up my speaker a little bit so I can hear you a little better. Okay.
No, I lived in St. Petersburg, Gulfport.
Do you live by Ybor?
By where?
Ybor City?
Yes. I used to go partying there all the time.
Yeah,
Back in
me
the
too.
day.
The castle? Did you go there?
No, I never went to the castle. I went to Flirt. I was a big trans activist then when I lived there. I was the secretary of St. Pete Pride. And then when I was there, we had the largest pride in Florida. We beat out Fort Lauderdale for the first time. So we were pretty proud of that accomplishment. Because I was in charge of the entertainment, and then I was also in charge of convincing the mayor to let it. They had the trans go in and convince the Republican mayor at the time to,
How'd that go?
It actually went really well. He was actually very nice to me, and
He didn't run you out of the Capitol with like a flaming birthday?
No, he was actually kind. He was very kind. So,
That's your ways.
but okay, so let's talk about why you like Bernie over Warren.
Well, I mean, are you talking policy or personal?
Just in general, like whatever you want, whichever you want to do.
Well, I mean, my
because I'm going to tell you why I prefer. I'm going to tell you why I prefer Warren over Bernie, not just personally, but I'm going to tell you a policy too. So I'll just run down the list of why. If you want me to do it first, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, you go first. So you sort of set the tone here.
Okay, so the reason I like Warren policy-wise is because, like, she's the only Democrat that's running for president who has built or directly managed a federal agency. Like, she was the one that was tapped when, you know, the recession was going on and Obama was trying to figure out how he was going to fix it before she even ran for Senate. The whole reason that she was there and then she ran for Senate is because Obama tapped her, and then they were like, oh, sorry, we don't want her here, and the Republicans ran her out of town. So she's like, okay, well, that's fine. I'm going to be a senator. So
was it Obama who contacted her? Because it was my understanding that it was. I mean, and I could be wrong here. It's just that maybe you're misremembering. I thought it was actually sort of Bernie who introduced her into that sphere, or
no, it was Obama. It was Obama. Well, it was people of Obama's, I should say. It wasn't exactly Obama. He's the one that suggested. Yeah, well, he was suggested.
Yeah, when she was doing the policies.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, you know, that gives her a form of experience that is unique in the Democratic field compared to the other presidents, or to the other presidential nominees.
Well, she is unique, but I mean,
because to me, the real action. Because to me, I want somebody that can do. Like, I don't care if you're likable. Like, that's what I didn't like about the Hillary. Like, everyone that was hating on Hillary. I don't care if you're likable. I just want to know that you can do the paperwork and the administrative part. That's all I care about. At the end of the day, all I want you to be able to do. I want you to know. I want you to know the homework. I want you to know the policy. I want you to know the red tape. I want you to know where you can go for blood, who to put where, how to manage them, how to enforce it. And I believed at the time Hillary knew how to do that because she knows where all the dead bodies are buried because she's a Clinton and she's been in Washington forever. And I think that she would have been able to, not I'm going to say blackmail, but she would have. That's why they hate her so much, the Republican side, because she knows where all the bodies are buried. And I think she would have got a lot of her stuff passed better than Obama would have because the fact that she knows where all the bodies are buried. And I would honestly. That's why in 2016 I preferred Hillary over Bernie, and also because for me, I just don't like when I get rally talking points, like, you know, that you want to keep on repeating that at your rallies, and you know Trump does the same thing, but when you're sitting down with like a journalist, to me, I want you to be able to explain your policies, because I want them to be understandable, but I also want you to go into depth on your numbers and how you're going to do it. And the list goes on. And this is where we agree, because I think that AOC does it really well. And I think that Warren does it well, but even Warren sometimes has problem at it, because I think what Warren's problem is that, like Hillary, being a woman, even though in the last debate she totally changed how she was. It was like back to how she is, like the Warren I've seen on C-SPAN, because I've been watching Warren for years. At the Nevada debate, that was Warren I saw on C-SPAN. Before that, who's ever in charge of her campaign, just like whoever was in charge of Hillary's campaign, was like, oh, you have to be nice. You gotta be toned. You can't, you're gonna scare the men. The men don't like strong women. I disagree. They did that. I know they did that to Hillary. I know they did that to Hillary because it was light and day. It was like in 2008. But you have to be real. Hillary's Hillary's a bitch. Let's just be real. And I'm saying that not in a good way, because Hillary is an attack dog. She says what she says and says it how she wants to say it. She's always been that way. Even when she was first lady, you know, she basically told them, I'm not the typical first lady. I'm not going to, you know, sit there and have tea with you. She basically told them that. And that's why they hated Hillary from the beginning, because she wasn't trying to. But Brian told her to be, you got to be the grandma. You got to be motherly this time around. You got to be nicer. You got to be kinder. You know, you have to have a soft heart, because the men get scared of you. You want them to vote for you. And it's true. Men feel that way a lot on both sides.
So that can be an advantage, though. If you're up against a man, I mean, that can be an advantage.
Well, I think it will be an advantage for, if that's another reason I think that it will be an advantage with Trump. Because of the fact that
You mean Warren versus Trump?
Yeah, because that's another thing. I think that both Bernie and Trump come up like angry, yelling people. And I think that when Warren attacks, she doesn't yell, but she does it well, where she, like, the way that she did with Bloomberg. Like what we saw with Bloomberg, I think she could exactly do to Trump, but worse.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. I enjoyed that. I mean, and that's the one thing that I love about Liz. Actually, that is my favorite thing about her. Is I call her Liz Vicious.
Yeah.
I mean, because she is just fucking mean.
Yeah.
She's got that high school mean girl thing, and she just carried it through her whole life. And I love that about her. And I've said many times, whereas I agree with Bernie more on policy. Like, I'm with him, like, on Medicare for All, and he's much more solid on his policy.
I think that Liz is for Medicare for All, but she's more. Okay, this is my problem too, because I think a lot of times Bernie supporters they twist it, they twist her, they skew what they skew. They're not. I'm not gonna say they're lying, but they're just they screw things. They skew it to, like, make it sound like she's lying or like she's backing off. Like, this is my problem with Anna Kasparian. She does this all the time. But no. She wants to do hers in 3 years. Bernie wants to do his in 4 years. But what she wanted to do, she wants the businesses to pay for a lot of the Medicare for All. She wants the businesses to be the ones that, you know, have to pay for some of it, so that it becomes where it doesn't have to raise the middle class tax. She doesn't want to raise taxes on the middle class. So her plan is different in that sense, and no one's paying attention to that, because all they hear is, oh, she's backing off of Medicare for All. And it's like, no, her plan is different, because she wants the businesses, like everyday businesses, she wants them to chip in that extra tax to pay for Medicare for All. That was her plan. That's her plan. And
I think the problem with her plan is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not totally up to speed on it. Her plan was to it was the wealth tax, the capital gains tax, and what else was it that I'm missing? That she was going to raise taxes on over a certain income bracket, right?
Yes, over 50 million.
Over 50 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also have the businesses pay for Medicare for All. The tax that it costs for Medicare for All, what it would cost an employee to have Medicare for All, she wants the businesses to pay for, not the employee.
Okay, well, I think the problem with that is, and I mean, I'm just speaking off the top of my head here. I think the problem with that is that, number one, businesses will find a way to get around that, and I think they're going to do.
Well, I don't think they will. I think that she knows how to. That's why they don't want. This is my problem though too. If you look at all the polls and any kind of news media and any kind of whatever, they're basically blacking her out. Like when they do polls, they talk about Klobuchar on up, and then they leave Warren out. Because corporate media is scared. Corporate media is way more scared of Warren than they are Bernie. That's just the fact of the matter.
Maybe.
Because they know Warren knows how to punish billionaires, knows how to punish Wall Street, because they've seen her do it. They've seen her do it for years. She got $12 billion. She got $12 billion back, and they own the media. Warren,
Yeah.
even Warren Buffett was saying they're scared. They're scared. I mean, you even have Bill Gates crying about Warren, which is unheard of.
That was amazing.
Which is unheard of.
I really enjoyed that.
I thought Bill Gates was all about giving his money away for charity and everything else.
They were all about giving their money away until you make them.
Yeah. So, well, because they get money. They talk about, oh, I do this for charity, I do this for charity, but they get money back. When they do that, they get to write it off. But
I mean, I think that what it comes down to is the difference between Warren and Bernie is, I mean, to me, and this is just me, I'm not even on a policy basis. I've seen Warren. She seems a little more flexible on her policy stuff. So I'm not saying it's entirely a bad thing. I mean, because if somebody could admit they're wrong, they could change their position and be honest about it, and that's fine. But I'm a little worried that Warren isn't going to, when she gets in office, and she gets a lot of that PAC money. I mean, not yet, but she will. And she gets a lot of that PAC money. She might be a little more Obama-esque in that she may be willing to change her positions.
I definitely don't think she's going to be Obama-esque.
Say that more time?
I don't think she's going to be Obama-esque, but I don't think that we're fair to Obama either. That's my problem with this is my problem with a lot of Bernie supporters. They're not very fair. They're disingenuous on the reality, because they set him in there with basically a Mitch McConnell and a Republican majority, in Congress. They never blame Congress. They always blame the president in general. And I think what happened is, even though Obama had to do a bunch of executive orders, but the problem is that he was dealing with the recession, and then on top of it, he was trying to compromise with Mitch and everybody so he could get things done for the Americans. And then on top of it, yeah, but on top of it, he was trying, but it wasn't really a majority, to be honest. If you look back, if you go to fact checking sites, it wasn't really a majority. But
it wasn't a majority enough to pass Obamacare because they kept disagreeing with him because the Democrats did the same.
Well, I'm not just talking about Obamacare. There was a lot of stuff that they couldn't pass. He wanted to do a lot of regulation on banks and things of that nature, and it wasn't going to happen. I mean, the best they could get is, a lot of stuff was a compromise for him, because of the fact that Mitch is, no matter what you think of Mitch McConnell, I hate him, but he is just like Nancy, just like a lot of people hate Nancy, but Nancy is very successful at what she does. And so is Mitch. They're both, it's hard to do what they do. I mean, anyone to be there that long, and then on top of it, whipping bills and holding bills like this and that. That's what annoys me about people, is that they think it's so easy and they criticize left and right. But I think a lot of times once progressives get into office, they start realizing it's a lot harder than they think it is. Because it's easy when that's like me being on the union. I'm on a union board of the adult industry. The first federally recognized board. I'm on the union board for the federally recognized union, and we get people that criticize us all day. And
my mom was a union president for 30 years.
And they but they don't realize how hard it is dealing with everybody. And then on top of it, all the red tape and trying to fight with, especially when you're self-employed, it's even harder when you have no employer. I mean, even though California has now made us employees or recognized us as employees, and they have AB5 and yada, 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 it's still very difficult. And we still have not gotten a contract with any of the companies yet. So we're still working on our contract so we can do better things. But my problem is that they think that Bernie is just going to go in there. Like when I heard him at his speech tonight, he's saying, we're going to do this.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. I got it down here.
Okay.
Give me a second. Please ignore that grinding.
That's okay.
That was intentional.
I didn't actually hear it. But
good. Then I didn't do it.
But when I hear Bernie, it's like always the same 6 phrases. It's always, the rally cry. And I know that people are like, oh, he's consistent with his messaging and, yada, yada, yada. But to me, I don't care if you're consistent about your messaging. I care what you get done. How have you helped people? How have you actually done things for people? And for me, again, I'm going to come off like a Kamala Harris person, because when I look back, when he was talking about, like, years ago, when he was talking about, like, I walked with, Martin Luther King, or I got arrested for this, he was like, he's not about intersectionality. He's not about civil rights. He even says, I wasn't there for civil rights, I was there for labor rights, because all he cares about really is labor and the inequality of the wealth, because he thinks that's going to fix everything overall.
Well, I mean,
but it's not. It's not going to fix everything.
If I can say this, if I can say this, to be fair, I mean, this is one of those cases where Bernie has been focused on. I mean, and very much like me, because I mean, a big part of my platform is economic too. And I have a whole thing about industrial reform and bringing jobs back to America and doing all kinds of different things to reform our economy, create, take power away from corporations and small business companies. So I've written hundreds of pages on that. Okay. It gets to the point where it eventually.
But that's another reason. I'm glad you brought that up.
If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that's where Bernie is economically, and I think that's why and also he's like 7,000 years old.
Well, I know,
so,
but my problem with him, as far as that goes, is that his followers. I'm not saying he does. I'm saying his followers overcompensate on his accomplishments, and like, for example, like when he marched. Okay, he marched, but did he move to Chicago? Did he move to a black disenfranchised community or a brown community? No, he moved to Vermont, which is mostly a white state, and he ran. How he got into Senate is by being friends with the NRA. Let's be honest. He got help from the NRA, and the reason he got in there is because of voting against the Brady Bill and background checks and yada yada yada. That's how he started.
Yeah.
So I don't like when people lie about his record and how he got there, because he got there just like all the ones that are complaining, like, oh, he did this and they did this. They took corporate PAC money and they did this. Bernie got there the same way. So that's what I have a problem. It's hypocritical, but I'm saying it's hypocritical. And then on top of that, my problem is when they point out his LGBTQ record. That is more personal, because they keep on pointing at him, like, oh, in 1982 in Burlington, when he was the mayor, he said we could have a pride parade. And I'm sitting there because I was an activist for pride boards. And Republican mayors have given us pride parades. That's not a big accomplishment. And to me, and when he went
he was pretty far ahead of the curve on gay marriage and everything, though, too.
No, he didn't. He wasn't officially. He was for civil union, and then when it became more acceptable, he became for gay marriage in I think it was 2011 or 2012, around that time. So he also because even in one of his debates, you can look it up. In one of his debates, he was saying, like, he's not for gay marriage, he's for civil rights. Which at the time I was for civil rights, so I don't know why everyone. But that's another thing I hate about our side, the left, is that we have this stupid competition on LGBTQ rights, and I'm more for LGBTQ than you because I got there faster, and they don't allow anyone to grow or to change their views or whatever. But they do give that to Bernie. Like, if you ever point out anything, like me pointing out just a minute ago, like he got in with the NRA, most Bernie supporters would have fought me to the, tooth and nail, and denied it and denied it and denied it and denied it and denied it.
No, I will tell you this. If I can get this for a second. I will say this. Number one, as of right now, the last I heard, he has like a D- rating from the NRA, which is not enough, which would be the ultimate purity test.
Yeah.
He does have a D- rating. I'll put it like this, okay? I'm running in Central Florida, so maybe I'm being a little bit sympathetic for him. I'm running in Central Florida, which is like where firearms are a religion, where I come from. Okay?
Oh, I know. I'm from the South. I know. I'm from Louisiana. Yeah, I'm from Louisiana.
And so if I came out right now, even if I believed in total gun ban, which I don't, because I mean, even
Oh, I don't either.
I
I don't think most Democrats believe in total gun bans. I think
I think it's because it's too late. It's Pandora's box is open. That genie's out of the bottle. It was about 40 million.
Well, I mean, England did that. I mean, they other countries have done it, but
yeah. But I mean, the point is that even if I did believe in those things, there is not a chance in hell I would get elected in Central Florida coming out saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to take your AR-15. Screw you guys." No way. So I mean, you have to moderate. You have to give them something because you have more important stuff you have to do too. It's like I'm real big on the environment and keeping Earth from self-destructing. To me, that's slightly more important than a assault weapons ban.
yeah. But if you look, but this is my other problem too. Like when Hillary was in office or when she was senator, if you look at their like voting record, it's almost identical. And the same with Warren. It's like almost identical. But ever since the primary, people. This is my other problem. I don't think a lot of young people understand what a primary is. They have to go against each other. They have to attack each other. And at the end of the day, they're still. If you look at Warren and Bernie, when they're not on a debate stage, they're still friends. They're still walking around, hanging out with each other, eating together, etc. But we, the viewer, or the young viewers mostly, they take it so personal. They literally like the snake. But
there's been a couple little things that seemed a little below the belt, like a little bit of a cheap shot. There's been a couple.
But he does it too. He basically called all of Warren supporters the upper echelon that were overeducated and et cetera, et cetera. That's why she did that. That's why she did that. She didn't want to be. No, it's not true.
I mean, it's not.
I talked to a lot of. I'm not going to say I'm dumb, but I talked to a bunch of Warren supporters and aren't very intelligent, and they're not college educated. But
well, I'm not saying I don't understand that. I mean, she's a smart woman. She's a college professor.
Yeah.
I mean, she would attract smarter, more educated people who
are
used to college professors. That makes sense. I mean, I know you went to Northern Illinois.
I went to Illinois State actually.
Oh, what?
Illinois State University.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
I went to it. Yeah, I'm from the central Illinois area.
Okay, but you're one of those smarty people who actually got an intelligent education.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're
well, that's why I expect more. That's why I expect more from the candidate. Like for me, when I hear Bernie speaking, all I hear is somebody saying the same. Like it's like taking a wind up, like one of those like dolls that you can pull the string on, and it will say the same 5 things over and over and over again. And that's that's what I hear. Like you could make a Bernie doll, and it would probably make lots of money because it could just say the same thing over. He should do that. He honestly should do that to make campaign money. I think people would buy it. For kids or whatever, like the if you want to like progressive parents that want to buy something but Bernie doll for their kids, you should definitely do that. Be good marketing. But that's what I hear, and that's what most of my friends hear that I went to college with. Where is the depth? So when Warren came in and she started giving depth, we were like, okay, we get these positions now. Like before, I was totally against Bernie in 2016 and a lot of his policies, and I was against Medicare for all. And I was against for a lot of things because I wanted the ACA because I believe that ACA is the best bet that we had because it was so hard to pass the ACA. And when it was
supposed to be a transition step to universal health care.
Yeah, which is what it should have been, which is what Obama wanted. But let's be fair, that's what Obama wanted, but then he couldn't get it passed. So he had to compromise to get anything. And that's what scares a lot of people that have pre-existing conditions or are getting the health care, because most people love ACA, but they don't like Obamacare because it says Obama in it. Like when I talk to my Republican friends, they're like, oh, I hate Obamacare. And then you say the ACA and they're like, oh, I love the ACA. So it's
the ACA, that's fine. Just leave Obama came out of it.
Yeah.
It's like when you poll people about Medicare for all. And you give them the policy position. Oh, we love it. It pulls to 80%. How do you feel about socialism? 40%.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another thing I don't think they should say it as socialism, because Or if they're gonna say it as socialism, should at least be like, well, what about Social Security? That's socialism. Or what about this? That's socialism. And
and that does need to be discussed more. I mean, I just saw a list of like 40 different socialist programs. I mean, they're democratic socialists.
yeah. And Republicans love socialism when it helps their people.
Oh yeah. Oh, they love it. I know. Like, I just got a discussion with a Republican the other day because she's on food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, screw socialism. I'm like, she's like, oh, do you want to get the Soviet bread lines? I'm like, what the fuck do you call that at Walmart? Y'all standing there with their EBT cards? That's just Soviet bread lines with a roof over your head.
That's the craziest part to me. I have so many friends because I grew up in a small town, so a lot of my friends are not, they're in dire situations, I should say. They're not making the most money. They're not educated, and they're Trump supporters. They live in trailers and things like that, and they are diehard Trump supporters. And
I live next door to them.
But they're always complaining about money. And I'm like, why would you vote against yourself? You're voting against yourself. Oh, no, Trump's going to help us. He gave us a tax cut. I'm like, you realize that tax cut's not permanent. That tax cut.
Gave you a tax cut. Your income is negative.
It's gonna go up. It's gonna keep on going up. I'm like that, But they don't listen. They think I'm, the crazy the liberal. You're the crazy liberal, even though I'm not, as liberal as most people. But I'm still the crazy liberal. And obviously, because I was a Hillary supporter, they were like really against me because I was a Hillary supporter. I've always been a Hillary supporter because for me, I'm not gonna lie, I am partly for any woman candidate over a man candidate in general because of the fact, for however long, men have mostly been the lawmakers. They have been the lawmakers, and I'm tired of men being the lawmakers, and I'm tired of men being the and I'm tired of men being the It is a little bit of sexism, but it's fair sexism because of the fact that it's mostly been the men that have I mean, if you look at the world, most of the problems in the world is not because of women, it's because of men. They've done most of the mischief making. They've done most of the law making. They've done most of the money making. They've done most of the polluting. They've done most of the enslaving. They've done most of the battery and the abuse, et cetera, et cetera. It's been the men.
Bernie, you're on patriarchy duty.
Huh?
We can go on. This conversation can go a lot of different directions.
Well, I'm just saying, in general, it has been the men. It has not been the women. So
I mean, historically, yeah.
And they were all scared of a black man, but and all, even with the Republican, even with Mitch and everything else, Obama was a good president, even though like a lot of people don't give him credit for that on the far left. They don't give him credit for that. He was a good president. He got us out of the recession. Trump's enjoying his economy. Trump's enjoying his economy right now.
Trump's riding his coattails like he did.
Yeah, and but the funny thing is, the night that Trump got in, all of a sudden the economy became better. So the economy's great, and because that's really how. Because Fox News has been dumbing people down for centuries, for years now.
Well, the irony of that is when Trump takes credit for Obama's economy, which he does do. The irony of that is if you look at the actual graphs for like GDP, the stock market, all that stuff. If you look at where the graph started in 2010, you see it going up at an almost exponential rate right up until they hit some invisible solid wall that happened in 2016. Then they start actually leveling off. They didn't increase in 2016. They started leveling off in 2016. So, yes, they're going up still, but at a slower rate than they were under Obama. So, if anything, Trump actually slowed Obama's gain down.
Yeah. But
and he still takes credit for it.
Well, yeah. Well, if you look at the last 3 years of Obama's presidency, it was better than Trump's presidency. All of his years that he's been in. But yeah, let's get back to Warren and Bernie. Sorry, I'm like I get off topic because we're talking about Obama.
Yeah. No,
okay, so but my problem again with Bernie is that again, like what I was talking about, like the black thing. Like as far as he went to Vermont, he hasn't really put any bills through for brown people or for minority people. He moved to a mostly white state, and a white state, mind you, that has the third highest incarceration rate of brown people and the highest college education. Yeah, for college education is the highest.
Per capita.
Yeah, per capita. Yeah, and to me, like, if he was going to start his revolution, he could have started it at his home base as a senator.
I think
he could have pushed. He could have used his voice after 2016 to push that through in his own area, and I would like to have seen that because I know he wasn't governor or anything, but he could have at least used his political platform like he did with the Democratic Party to move his own state farther left on issues.
Yeah,
especially if there's not many people that, like, what the Vermont brown people is like, what, 5%, and if the highest incarceration, that's sad. That's ridiculous.
And I wonder if, and I don't know this, but I know that there's also a lot of wealth disparity there. I mean, in that community, and I know that Bernie sees it through the lens of economics. And that is an accurate way to see it, is to say, okay, if a disproportionate number of people are in X category and Y category overlaps with it by 80%, well, then you want to address Y category because it encompasses a larger group, including 80% of that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
it's like a Venn diagram thing. And so I get the logic behind it. Now, should we address Black people's economic issues separately? Yeah, I mean, they do. I mean, I'm for reparations.
Oh, I'm totally for reparations. I think it's ridiculous that we were for Native American reparations, but we're not for most of them are like, even on the Democratic side, are like, oh, I don't know how we'll have to look at that, like.
I don't think we're at Native American reparations. I say give that another generation because that's where we're looking at that like Rome, like, oh no, we captured that territory, that's our shit now.
Yeah, which is sad. because I'm
should not do that.
The reason I'm saying that is because I'm half Cherokee Indian. My dad is full Cherokee. Yeah.
Nice to meet both of you.
So.
The entire Cherokee population of Illinois, is it not?
Huh?
Is that the entire Cherokee population of Illinois?
I feel like it is.
I know, I've been in Illinois a lot. I don't remember seeing very many.
But my dad is actually from the South too. But he grew up in Alabama. But
sorry to hear that.
But what I was gonna say is
from Central Florida.
What I was gonna say is that we only moved to Illinois because he got a job at Caterpillar. But what I was gonna say about Bernie is that for me, because of when I look at his record and what he talks about, I don't see any kind of him putting bills through or him taking the initiative. When I look at his, like when he talks about he's anti-war, for example, and then I look at his voting record, it says very different that he's anti-war. He didn't vote for the Iraq war, but he voted for the military to have money for it, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go through the list. I have it somewhere. I have to pull it up. Oh goodness.
See, you got me at a disadvantage because somebody has a computer in front of her and I have a steering wheel in front of me. So lucky you.
Oh, and then I also want to talk about, but I also want to talk about how, can we talk about the conspiracy too after this? Because I want to talk about the conspiracy, the crazy conspiracies. Like, I feel like they're as bad as the Trumpers. Especially about 2016, because even if Donna Brazile knew whatever, or gave her like a thing, or whatever else, but if you look at the math, like, no matter, however, take out super delegates, whatever, Hillary still beat him in every single way, even by GOP rules, by states, by proportional, with super delegates, without super delegates, no super delegates. She beat him no matter what. But
well, Well, I mean, she beat him because of the influence peddled to the DNC. I mean, on a level playing field.
No, I don't think that's why she beat him. I think the reason why she beat him is because the black community, this is what people don't give her credit for. The black community knows Hillary Clinton, and the reason they know the Clintons is not just because they're the Clintons. They actually go to those black communities and Hispanic communities, and they played, they went to their communities, went to their churches, donated to their places. They got the CHIP program. They got, she's working on child health care, yada, yada, yada. She, actually went and did all this. Like, she met them and did things, and, like, she was there for that community. They know the Clintons, and that's why she won. Bernie never did that. That's another problem I have with Bernie. Bernie has never done that.
Well, I think that at the time, it's more at the time. Okay, I think Bernie back then would have fallen under he was more of a niche character. He was more of a college liberal sort of. He appealed to that crowd more than anybody else. That was the core of his support back then. And so I mean, if you even sort of lean, if you smell like a commie, you belong on a college campus. I mean, let's be real. So, I mean, that was the core of his support. But I mean, it's spread out a lot since then. I mean, but I do agree with you. I mean, yeah, she did have a lot of the black vote locked in, and that was a messaging problem on his part. That has changed since then.
But I will say I agree with one thing with Anna Kasparian as far as Hillary Clinton goes. When she didn't get that health care bill, I think it hurt her in a way that she felt like she had to go back and be not as progressive, because I was very progressive at the time in the 90s, that she was trying to fight for that health care.
For universal health care, yeah.
As a first, and she was a first lady. She wasn't even, in office.
You know what's really funny about that? And I happen to know this because my mom was a campaigner for Bill Clinton, being a union president. That's how I've met him twice. And I remember back then, my mom told me, she's like, "Oh yeah, everybody's going to get health care." I was 11, and still waiting on that. And that was part of the reason she campaigned for him. And I was there at Cal Livestock Pavilion. I thought Chelsea was kind of cute back at the time, but I was a fat kid, so nobody looked at me.
Right.
And you know what was really funny is back at the same time that Hillary was for universal health care, you know who else was?
Well, I know Bernie was.
Obviously, but somebody else you probably wouldn't expect. Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, I knew that. He was actually a big Clinton supporter before he knew, because there's video of him saying, like, if you want to run for president, you should run for Republican. Like, there's videotapes of him saying that in interviews, and because he's like, they're the most easiest to fool. That's basically what he was telling and he was right about that.
Absolutely.
I mean,
they're the biggest suckers, but
yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is if you use progressive line on suckers in such a way that the suckers can relate to it, all of a sudden they're progressive without realizing they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing how many talking points he actually, and maybe you don't want to hear this, he stole a lot of Bernie's talking points, including on healthcare. That's part of what got him in.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason they have that crossover support. Remember, he campaigned on universal healthcare.
Well, yeah, and he also campaigned a lot. He campaigned a lot of stuff that he was lying about. Like, and his union address, his State of the Union address, he said he was going to be for not keeping their Medicare, and now he wants to cut it. So,
Did he say that the last time? I didn't watch the whole thing.
Oh yeah, in the State of the Union, yeah, he said, "We're going to keep your Medicare. We're not going to touch it. No one's going to touch your Medicare."
Immediately proposes
yeah. So I have this list for the Bernie Sanders, aka Bomber Bernie, because a lot of people were criticizing Hillary for being a warmonger, but no one ever brought up his what he voted for, and so that's what a lot of Clinton supporters thought was unfair to Mrs. Clinton, and that's why we were kind of angry in 2016, because he basically voted for example, this is the biggest one that made us all mad, is like, she was a first lady, so her President Clinton, obviously, because he was talking to the black churches, because the black churches wanted this. They were like, we need to get rid of these gangs on the streets in the 90s. So Bill Clinton, being the quote-unquote first black president, said, oh, okay, well, we're going to we're gonna help these young children and yada yada yada, and by making this crime bill. Well, guess who voted for that crime bill? Sanders. But at the same time, in 2016, he didn't get any kind of backlash because everyone was worried about Super Predator, because she was the first lady that was given a speech, because they have speechwriters, which is what a lot of people don't understand. Like, they think that Mrs. Clinton writes her own speeches when she doesn't. Neither does Bill. Neither does Obama.
I do. I do.
Well, I know. Yeah, I know you do. But when you get to that top brass, you have a speechwriter. So I mean, you can look up speechwriters like with all the presidents. I think Obama's speechwriter, I thought he was really hot. I can't think of his name.
You know what? I was just thinking about that movie, The Long Shot. Have you seen that? Oh, you gotta see that. With Seth Rogen, and I forget the woman who plays her. Actually, I don't want to give away the ending, but she's running for office to become president. My husband watched that on HBO. I think I didn't watch it. Yeah, it's on. You have to watch it.
I will definitely watch it.
Like what you're talking about. What you said about Obama's hot speechwriter.
Yeah, because he had a speechwriter. All of them have speechwriters. Obviously Trump definitely has a speechwriter, but she said because Super Predator was in her speech, and it was in the 90s. This is another thing we don't look at either. Like, we don't look at history. Like, it was in the 90s. It was a different time. Yada, yada, yada. People grow. People change. The list goes on. And that's what the black community and Latinos were calling them, too. Like, it wasn't just Hillary saying that. That's why the speechwriter put it in there or whatever. But they all went after her because it was a primary, and it was an attack. That's what they do. That's what you do in a primary. But at the same time, it was disingenuous. Nobody looked at Bernie because he voted for the crime bill. He said that we needed more prisons in an interview, and he said that we needed, harder punishment and yada yada yada. He said all that in interviews. But everybody overlooks that because it's Bernie. And that's why a lot of people.
If I'm not mistaken, the main reason that he got the crime bill, and the main reason that Joe Biden, and the main mechanism by which Joe Biden got him to vote for the crime bill was by including the Violence Against Women Act, and that was the main reason that he voted for it. Was because Joe Biden, to get Bernie to vote for it, had to put in the Violence Against Women Act, and Bernie's like, well, fuck it. I guess if we're gonna have the Violence Against Women Act, this is the only way we're gonna get it. And so that was.
Well, I still find that problematic because in general, like, black people at that time were definitely, targeted left and right.
Oh, I'm not saying differently. I think the society didn't see it that way at that time, though.
Yeah, well, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, the same with Hillary Clinton at the time when she said Super Predator. Even the black community didn't take offense to that at the time.
Yeah. I don't think at the time that was seen as a racist thing, nor should it have been.
Yeah.
I mean, the black community, like you said, didn't even see it that way. It took us 20 years to realize, oh shit, like 90% of the people in prison are black. There's a problem.
Yeah. It took a long time. Well, I think black people always knew it, just that white people didn't know it.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
It took us a while to catch up to something they knew 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's what he voted for as far as his bomber Bernie. He voted for H-Res 247 Bosnia Troop Deployment Resolution, the Iran and Libya Sanctions Act of 1996. Yeah. Foreigner Operations FY98 Appropriations, funding for Israel.
What was that last one?
Foreign Operations FY98 Appropriations, funding for Israel, Egypt, former Soviet Republic, International Narcotics Enforcement. Military Construction FY99 Appropriations, the Iraqi Liberation Act of 1998, Saddam Hussein regime change, which I thought was a big mistake, and I still think that's a big mistake on anyone that's voted for him. I think it was stupid to take out Saddam, because you need somebody crazier than the crazies over there, and that was Saddam Hussein. he at least kept them under control.
He was king of the crazy.
Yeah.
He did keep them rounded up pretty
Yeah,
nicely.
because he wasn't like he wasn't a Bin Laden. Like he wasn't planning on taking America out.
Yeah.
He was just crazy with it.
He was more stable.
He was just crazy with his own people.
Well, I mean, ISIS would not exist. Al Qaeda would not really exist as an institution if we hadn't taken Saddam Hussein out. That was really dumb.
That was the stupidest thing. That was the stupidest thing that we did. Like that's why Bin Laden was so mad. Like that was his whole point. Like you guys are interfering in our war. You guys. That's why he was so mad at us because we came over again and this is how we like Mike Gravel talked about this. Like how we put our noses into people's business. And we start conflicts with people, and then we act surprised, like why they think we're terrorists and why they're mad at us, and they want to come over and fight us. Like I say this to people all the time, like those bad Muslims. And it's like if the Muslims, it was others, it was the other way around, and Muslims are bombing our country over and over again, killing our kids, killing our women.
No,
we would be freaking pissed, and we would be going across there and doing the same thing. They're the only difference is that we have the money and the military to take them out, whereas they don't. They have to like take planes and everything else to try to attack us.
That reminds me of something, and I'm sure that this is a requote from somebody who was more intelligent, but I swear to God, I heard this in Wolverine comic book. Wolverine Logan said to somebody once, a terrorist is just what a big army calls a small army.
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely is true in the Middle East. I mean, we call them terrorists. It's just a smaller army than ours because they got to do what they got to do. And they did the same thing with the Viet Cong. They did the same thing with pockets of North Korea. They did the same thing with Japanese who were resisting on islands. They called them terrorists.
Yeah.
Well, they were just outnumbered.
Basically, yeah. And that's the crazy part, like, cause they fight so unfairly, but they still take our troops out, which is what makes me so mad. Is because I come from a military family, so when we keep on sending people over there for a never-ending war, because they're not going to change their religion or their views or their thoughts, and we're just like I like Elizabeth. This is another reason I like Elizabeth Warren. Because Elizabeth Warren is basically like, get out, and then we'll, if we need to send people over, small factions, then we'll send them over. But other than that, why are we over? Why are we over there? Because it's just wasting money.
Because our military-industrial complex has become the product acquisition arm of the oil industry.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Bernie's still open to being over there. That's what my problem is with Bernie too.
Well, I haven't heard you read through everything that he's supported, unless I was told it. But from what I'm hearing so far, that sounds like tactical decisions instead of strategic ones. What I mean by that is, okay, if I'm in Congress, if I'm senator, like as I intend to be in 4 years when I take Scott's job, okay, if we're already at war somewhere, right? There's already something going on. There's an ongoing conflict. Okay. I can be against that conflict. I can say, I don't think we should be over there. We should be making moves to get out of there as soon as possible. And yet, tactically, I have to make a decision, okay, we can't just yank our troops out like tomorrow because then that would be fucking chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to vote to perpetuate certain things which we would not support in the sort of macro sense. I mean, even though I might not support a war in Yemen or Ecuador or wherever the hell we're bombing next, I might not support a war there, but I may have to vote in favor of a tactical funding, so that it doesn't become a bigger disaster than it already is.
Right.
And I don't know if that was his rationale for it. It may have been.
Well, my family doesn't think we should be over there. Like they've been over there a few times, and they just think that And then plus, I think a lot of Americans just don't understand that most people over there are peace-loving people, and they just, they just want to be left alone. Is really what a lot of them want. They just want to.
It's like Hydra.
Yeah.
For every one you kill,
we've been killing we kill people at their weddings, because there's one terrorist there. They take out a whole wedding place. We take it's disgusting. That's why it made me so mad at Obama, because he was basically like the drone strike king. But so that's why I'm just like very anti-war altogether. But.
Well, I totally understand where they're coming from, because I'm like, okay, look, if a bomb came through my house and killed my dog, I would John Wick your whole fucking family.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I can't imagine how they feel when they see their kids lying there dead.
Yeah.
And all the people they love blown to pieces. I can't imagine what that turns them into.
Yeah. But when you say that to anybody that's, you know, on the Republican side or whatever, they think that you're crazy, and they're just like, "What are you?"
No.
But
They hate us for our freedom.
Yeah, they hate us for our freedom. They're jealous of us. I'm like, no, they're not jealous of us.
Yeah.
They're
jealous of our McDonald's.
Yeah. I'm like, do you guys realize the whole reason that Bin Laden started this whole thing is because we interfered in their war, because their holy war. That's basically what it was about. You know, it was a religious war that we got involved, and that's what he was pissed about.
I don't know if that really sums up the whole reason.
Well, that's what he wrote. That's what he said. So.
Yeah, that's what he said.
But then let's go back to what he voted for. So HR 1954 extending the Iran-Libya Sanctions Act of 1996. Then he authorized for use of military force to allow George W. Bush to use military force against anyone he believed was part of 9/11 attacks or harbored anyone suspected of involvement. But yet,
that is a tactical decision.
And then
that's not a strategic one.
He authorized authorizing military force in Iraq. He said nay. He said no. But previously he said yeah to anything else. Then he said, and then he did the defense appropriation 2003. Yeah. Foreign operations appropriation. Yeah. Emergency defense spending. Yeah. Defense Department appropriations. Yeah. Funding for ongoing operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah. National Defense Authorization Act for 2008. Yeah. The rest was all yeah. Besides the closing of Guantanamo Bay. He said no for closing it. Instead of yeah. I think we should close Guantanamo Bay. We're just torturing people left and right for no reason.
Before we can just close Guantanamo Bay, we need to cease the operations that are sending people to Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, but a lot of those men weren't even involved. That's my problem. Is a lot of those men were really not even involved, and they were so low level they don't even know anything. That's my problem with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they should be there. I think we should keep Guantanamo Bay open in the sense that it is a valuable military institution. We could use it for other stuff. You know, I mean, it's a good thing to have because we already spent the money on it. But yeah, I mean, I think the people there need to be at least taken to like a real federal judge for hearings. Be like, should they even be here? But I mean, the danger is that now that we've tortured them and screwed up their lives enough, if they weren't terrorists before, they probably will be now.
Well, that's the problem. And then
exactly the problem.
And then, he also was in favor of he was in favor of the airstrikes against ISIS. Came out in favor of levying sanctions on Russia in 2014. He urged the UN Security Council to have no-fly zones in Libya. Sanders was a co-sponsor.
What was the thing you said about Russia before that?
He came out in favor of levying sanctions on Russia.
Oh, good. Yeah. Sanctions shit up.
Supports shipping. What does that say? Some of this it's not a very clear document. But,
well, it's even less clear to me, so.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of it. But I mean, his record is basically just as bad as Hillary Clinton's as far as what she voted for and what she didn't vote for. The only thing he didn't vote for was the Iraq thing, the Iraq vote. But the rest he did for. But when they did vote on the Iraq thing, even though he said it was bullshit, But let me tell you why that Hillary voted though, because you gave Bernie a pass. You know why he voted. Hillary voted.
I'm not giving him a pass.
Okay.
I'm saying I'm looking at it case by case.
But I'm okay. Well, let me tell you why Hillary voted. Hillary voted because she was a state.
Before you go into that, I'm letting you know right now. Yeah. I'm slowing down in 7 minutes to fuel the truck.
Okay.
So I guess I can stay on the phone with you, but if I'm a little in and out, like when I'm talking to you, it's because I'm fueling my truck.
Okay. What I was gonna say, the reason why Hillary voted for the Iraq war or the Iraq vote is because when she was senator of New York, where it actually happened, 9/11, she wanted help for first responders. You know, she wanted to get them any help that she could. And Bush made her, he said, well, I'll make a deal with you. I'll give you this much money if you vote for so-and-so. And so she made that deal because they weren't going to get help any other way. So she made the deal. to do that. So she voted yes. But no one even gives her, like, even thinks about that or even talks about that. All they say is like, oh, she voted. But she was actually she was on ground zero. She was there. Like, that's her home state where she was a senator. So she had a lot more responsibility than somebody that's in Vermont or somebody that's, in another state, especially towards her own people. So it was basically, Bush was like, well, I'll give you, this kind of money or this kind of package if you vote yes, which is what happens in Washington all the time. Everyone has to compromise.
Yeah, well, that's the pork barreling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that is. That's exactly how they got Bernie to vote for the crime bill.
Yeah.
Well, he put the Opposition Employment Act. So, I mean, those are sort of parallel tracks.
Yeah.
And I think in that sense, yeah, you could forgive her for that, in that sense.
But they don't. But they don't. But they don't. But that's my problem with it.
Now, the reason that I would say...
They paint her like some horror, like, monger, horrible person, but she's not...
But the thing is you have to look at the direction, you have to look at the direction that a person's policy and purposes go. It's not just their votes. I mean, people can vote on different things for a lot of different reasons, like you just said. I mean, but when you look at Hillary, it's clear that she's either fine with war or, she is morally, policy-wise, her leanings go toward military intervention. And so if you put her into a situation where it's either military intervention or not, well, then there's a better than even chance she's going to go for it. And that's why you see she's different than Bernie. So they can vote. Their votes can go exactly the same way. But if you're talking about them being in charge, like commander-in-chief of the military, then it matters what their predilection is.
I don't think that she was, though, because she was against a lot of what Obama did. Like, even Obama said they argued about, a lot of times, like, about the drone strikes and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't as... I think Obama was more, war for doing stuff than she was.
Yeah, definitely.
But because she was a Secretary of State, she had to carry out his orders.
Yeah.
I think that Obama was... But they give him a pass because, again, they give him a pass for it because he's a man. And he also took more money. He also took more money from Wall Street than Hillary did. But they give him a pass.
Well, they give Obama a pass on a lot of things. It's not just because he's a man. It's because there was just like so much sort of social. There was so much social hoorah about him. There was a lot surrounding him that didn't have anything to do with what he did. I mean. Obama's image was he was the savior of all mankind and the progressive God for the ages. In reality, he was a little right as Hillary Clinton. I mean, let's be real. On a lot of things. So, I mean, what a person's image, and just like Trump, he has this image of being a populist, quasi-progressive. In reality, he's a fascist authoritarian. So I think Obama gets a pass on some of that stuff for the same reason that Trump's people give him a pass on being a lying, stealing piece of shit.
Yeah.
No.
But I think a lot of it, like the emails, like obviously most people knew that was fake. The Benghazi thing was fake. But Republicans are just better at hits and messaging. They're just better at it than we are. They've always been better at it than.
They're better at messaging and they're more amoral.
Yeah. And so but obviously they cleared her of the email thing. They cleared her. Now Trump's own Justice Department cleared her, which is the craziest thing. So he must be steaming about that.
Yeah, well, who was that? Matt Gaetz that was in charge of that?
I think so. I think
they were trying to find everything.
They were trying to find everything they could. And they couldn't find anything.
Yeah, I think that was Matt Gaetz.
Yeah. So
our own Floridian.
Yeah, so he was trying hard. I can't stand him, but it's just funny to me that they make her out to be so evil and so this, so that, and this and that and the other, and I'm just like, okay, well, where is this at? But and my problem with Bernie too is that he was blaming Hillary as First Lady for Bill Clinton's doing. And I found that to be very sexist, and that's what pissed me off
Well,
about him the most in 2016. Because I was like, how
Personally,
dare you,
I
if
blame
you
Miliana
blame,
for everything to do with Trump because I'm pretty sure she's a succubus.
I don't blame Melania for anything. I don't,
She might
she's
be a
just,
Russian
she's
gambler.
just there,
It could be
I just
that
think
too.
she's just there for money. She's
Do it.
she's just there for money. She's like, she's just like, I don't blame the sugar baby for anything.
You couldn't tell by the happy look on her face. She looks like a state of eternal bliss all the time.
I don't. I do blame her for wearing that stupid jacket. But other than that, I don't blame her for.
It looks like she's trying to bend carbonadium with her mind at all times.
Yeah.
like Trump's skull is made of adamantium, and she's trying to mentally crush.
I love when she bats his hand away. That's the funniest.
Oh, great! I like the one where the footage of her behind him when she's smiling and she looks at him and then she turns away and she's like,
yeah, that I mean, it's,
look at you.
You can just tell that she's got so much disgust for him. So I mean, I would too. If like you, well, that's what's going to happen when they get out. I'm sure she's going to write a book. She's going to write a tell-all and make a bunch of money. But my problem with Bernie then and then when he said, "Who cares about the damn guns?" That bothered me too. In 2016, so that's when I started not liking Bernie twice. Like when he was like blaming her for, because if someone blamed me for what my husband did, if someone blamed me for what my husband did in his job or did in his life, I would be pissed. And then when they were all shaming her for staying with a man for cheating on her or whatever, it's like that pissed me off too, because I'm just like, you don't know people's relationships. Don't judge people's relationships. You know, a lot of times people have sexist marriages, but they have great friendships and they stay together. And when they have sexist marriages, they have, you know.
Are we talking about Hillary or Miliana?
Hillary.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I'm talking about Bernie and Hillary. Bernie, like what made me mad about Bernie is because he was blaming. No. He was. I'm saying that Bernie in 2016 was blaming Hillary for what Bill did, and then for Bill's record, and that pissed me off during the debates because I was like, well, why are you blaming Hillary? She was just a first lady. She wasn't even in office. And then when his supporters like Anna Kasparian and other people were saying, oh, you can't trust a woman that would stay with a man that would cheat on her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That made me really mad because there's women all over this country that are in relationships like that know that their husband's cheating, but they don't say anything because they don't give a shit. Because they love him for who he is or whatever. And like, oh, go have your time. Don't ask. It's like, don't ask, don't tell, you know, like for when gays were in the military.
Or they're satisfied with the position that the marriage gives them and they don't want to end it.
Yeah. Which is my mom said, because she was, Southern lady. My mom said, if you know he's cheating, but you don't want to do anything about it, don't say anything because you're going to become the other woman. That's what my mom always said to us girls. But I believe up and down that Hillary knew that he does what he does. I knew I not all what he does, but I believe that she knew that he cheats. Like I knew that, she knew that he does dirty stuff, and most presidents have.
I think they have an arrangement.
Yeah,
I think that Trump and Miliana have an arrangement. I think it's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So, but I think that Hillary knew that he cheats or does whatever. That's your time. Do what you want to do. Whatever. But I think that Hillary, like most women, like a lot of women, do that, and it's just funny to me when I hear women judge women for that, like all day long, when probably some of those women are in those same kind of relationships. So I think sometimes they're projecting. But yeah. But like as far as like presidents go, we all know that a lot of presidents cheated on their wives. Not just Trump, Kennedy, the list goes on. They're just better at, some of them were just better at hiding it.
To be fair, that was also Marilyn Monroe, so I mean.
Well, he had other girls, not just. I don't think it was just Marilyn.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, everybody gets their celebrity freebie. That kind of fits everybody.
Yeah. But I think in general, like a lot of presidents have cheated. You know,
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah, you know, because they have Secret Service, they could probably get anyone, you know.
Yeah.
But that was my issue with Bernie as far as the sexism goes. But from then on, it wasn't Bernie anymore. It became YouTube stars and Twitch stars that became so vitriol towards. Oop, I lost him. 1 second. One second. He's gonna call me in 2 minutes. I'm gonna go to the bathroom really quick, guys. I'll be right back. Okay. So, how was everybody? No, I didn't see that. Oh, is the election in yet? I don't, I'm not even been paying attention. Oh, really? Hmm. Oh no, I think that they're being very unfair to Bernie. I think it's stupid on both parts because. Oh, sorry. Hello?
Hey, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Am I back on?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Sorry, you go into the fuel aisle, these truck stops, and lose signal.
Oh, I understand. So we were talking about.
Yeah, I might lose you again too.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if I do, I'll call you back.
Okay. We were talking about Bernie and Hillary. Why I started like not liking him, but then it wasn't just him. It became the Twitchers and the Twitch Twitch or whatever it is.
The what?
The Twitch, the big followings of Twitch people and the big following of YouTube stars. You know, I noticed a lot of them. It's not so much Bernie. A lot of them are very anti-woman. It seems on Twitch. Even the leftists, they get mad when a woman they get mad when a woman talks back to a man, and a lot of it seems like the gaming community has a lot of incel men in it.
Hey, listen, woman, stop interrupting me.
Yeah, okay.
Don't talk while I'm speaking, all right? Sorry. All right, can I speak? No. I actually saw a lot of that too, and I think what that was is there was so much stuff that was drummed up over the sexism. Because let's be real, and this is not an attack on Hillary, but this thing with her going back to attacking her opponents as sexist and all, this goes back to her first run against Obama. Remember, she had the Obama boys, and she said that they were sexist, racist.
Well, I don't feel like Obama was actually racist or sexist to her on debates. I mean, I wasn't. I voted for Hillary in the primary, but I didn't find him to be any kind. I don't think he was sexist. I think maybe some of the people online, like I know that my husband was sexist towards Hillary because he was an Obama supporter. But I think it was more the people underneath Obama, just like it is for Bernie.
But you hear that though? It's the same narrative. It's you're not sexist, but your followers are. You're leading a sexist, misogynist movement against me. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same narrative. But
well, I think it's like the Rush. I always call them the Rush Limbaughs of the left. It's like the Kyle Selinsky's. He's very, like, whenever Warren, this is my problem. Like, when back in 2016, he was all about Warren running. I would have preferred Warren over, Hillary. Now that she's running, it's become, look at the way she smiles. Look at the way she does this. Look at the way she does that.
You're talking about Warren.
Yeah. She dances badly, and that's what I have a problem with. If he was attacking her policy, then fine, attack her policy all day. But when you start talking about her looks and everything else, that's when it becomes sexist. And it's the same with Hillary. That's why she was saying it's sexist, because people weren't talking about her policies. They were talking about her voice is screechy and whatever.
Well, I mean, first off, obviously there's a double standard for women. That's why you wear makeup and I don't have to.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a double standard. People do judge you more on your appearance. In some ways. Yeah. Women are judged differently on their appearance, but I think there's undue emphasis placed on it. Not that I don't wear makeup. I'll wear some foundation from time to time. Let's be real. But I guess that's. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me she gets those kind of attacks, because I don't know if those are just misogynist or if that's human nature, if that's just how we look at women, because we do place undue
One second. I'm doing my radio show. Yes, I'm doing my radio show. All right, sorry.
She's doing a radio show. Down with the patriarchy.
Yeah, so but that was my problem with Kyle. But what I'm saying is Kyle does that, and then the beta males underneath him follow what he does, and then they actually take it even worse than what he does. So like it kind of like is a it's a fan effect, basically. Like it starts off with a comment or two, and then they have to take it even farther. Because I know even if I say something against another star or whatever, here comes White Knight trying to attack that person because I said something to them.
I noticed that actually.
So you have to be really careful when you have a following, because you can get them to be, kind of evil to other people easily.
Yeah, I've noticed a couple of White Knights on your page before. I've seen that.
Well, it's not just that. Like on Twitter, like it's really bad, because I think it's worse. Because on Facebook, I really don't have that many people on my Facebook. Like I've been deleted from Facebook so many times, so I lost half my following, because I'll say things like that are not peace. Like I didn't know that I can call myself a granny tranny, because I call myself a granny tranny, and I didn't know that tranny was now going to get me banned.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that now.
Yeah, so it got me banned from Facebook, and then
didn't we expatriate RuPaul for that?
Yeah, well, I still use it because I've been living as a trans since I was 12, and I just feel like the PC community has just gone crazy.
Hey, since you mentioned it, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but since you mentioned it before we move away from that, I desperately need followers on Twitter. So if you could send everybody you know over to @Reforge America, REFORGE America. That's my Twitter account.
All right. Well, I message Kelly Pierce. If you at me, I will send you followers. So.
Oh, you bet.
Okay.
I need you to send me yours.
Yeah.
I don't follow you.
But
I follow you on Facebook.
But what I was saying is, like, what I find is that we have to be really careful of what we say, and I don't think that Bernie so much does it anymore. He's trying harder, but people are the people online and Clinton supporters and the media don't understand is that a lot of young people, they're watching like the Kyle Selinsky's, they're watching the Michael Brooks, they're watching the Twitch stars that are very anti-woman and they're kind of troll-like, and they get a following because they speak so forcefully, and they're like the Trumps of the left, and guys are like, yeah, I love it, and
you know where a lot of that started though. That I mean, and I only say this because I was active in the community on YouTube for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that didn't actually start in the political community. There was some crossover there, but a lot of that started in like YouTube atheist community.
Okay.
I don't know if you follow it at all, but I mean, yeah, that sort of shift to the weird misogynist alt-right where, yeah, we support Bernie Sanders, but also we're kind of like libertarian conservatives and fuck women, give me a sandwich, bitch. The fedora hat crowd.
Yeah, that's
like the neckbeards.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's so crazy to me. Like I don't get it.
Yeah. And it kind of split off because I call them the sort of the drunken peasants crowd. And then they all sort of went over to Joe Rogan and drunken peasants and all that.
Yeah, it's weird to me. Well, that was another thing that pissed a lot of people off too, is because when he said the Joe Rogan thing, it pissed a lot of people off because of the fact that Joe Rogan has been very anti-trans, anti-black, he's very, and then at the end of the day, Joe Rogan basically like backpedaled, and so that made them even more mad because he's like, oh, so you were saying we have to make a big tent for them, so I think that's another thing he's got an issue with right now, is because he needs to stop doing the anti-establishment Democrats, because and the media needs to stop saying, and for me, I'm tired of the media. If Bernie won, he won. You need to stop saying, "Oh God, this is the end of the world. It's doomsday." It's
right.
Because when we have to unite, and if it's not Bernie, even though it's probably going to be Bernie, but I'm just saying in general, if it's not Bernie, you want the left to come. You want most of Bernie supporters to come over. But if the pundits are trashing Bernie left and right, they're not going to come over. They're going to be like, "Fuck you." And then the same but it's the same for Bernie, because a lot of people are still mad at him from 2016. A lot of Hillary supporters are still very mad at him. And when he says, "Oh, the establishment and yada yada yada," like it wasn't him that posted. I think it was some tweeter that tweets for him said something today about the anti-establishment. It made everyone go crazy, because they're like, oh, so you're saying that Democrats are the issue, because that's what they hear. Well, they are, but I think a lot of times some of them fight for the status quo because they know that's all they can get done right now in Congress. And that's why they're giving AOC that excuse, because she's starting to realize that, because she's up for re-election.
They believe that's all they can get done. They believe
well,
that.
even AOC's
For
even.
the same reason people believe that Bloomberg is the only person who can beat Trump. They sincerely.
Well, no,
believe
they have a powerful blocker. They have a person that's named Mitch McConnell, and he blocks everything, and he's good at it, and he's good at, and he's, well, he can't, but I'm sure he's got somebody waiting in the wings that he's training right now to do the same crap. But in general, we have to get him out. We have to get more liberal, progressive people in if you want to get anything done, because there's not enough of them. Because that's my problem with Bernie too, is that I want him to get rid of the filibuster, just like Liz is saying, because you're not going to get anything done, because why Mitch has so much power is because of the filibuster. And so if he wants all this, progressive stuff to go through, or wants all this stuff if he doesn't get a 60 person threshold, it's not happening, and I don't see it happening. So you need to get rid of the filibuster so you can actually make it happen. And that's actually a very good criticism of Warren on his, saying all this what he's going to do, because he's not going to get it done. Because I think he's going to have even a harder time than Obama did, because at least Obama had the establishment Democrats on his side, and Bernie as a whole doesn't. He's got most. Well, a lot of people don't like. And when Hillary said, that's another thing. When Hillary said, a lot of people don't like Bernie, she wasn't talking about people. She was talking about Congress. She was talking about Washington, because a lot of people are pissed at Bernie because they killed good bills. Like I was saying today to the people on Facebook that were going all crazy, he killed good bills only because there was a subsidy or two in there for lobbyists, where it could have helped 60 million, or lots of more people to get food on the table, or to do their everyday living or whatever. And sometimes you have to make compromise, and you have to not be a purity candidate to help people, because right now we have money in politics, and that's just how it is. And once it's out of politics, then great. But when you have things that can actually help, I'm not talking about tax cuts. I'm talking about in general, like things like that will actually help people, like like when he voted against the credit for children. Who does that help? It helps Black people. It helps brown people that have kids. A lot of people live on their tax check they get every year. They look forward to it. That's like their Christmas. That's when they get to go on trips or whatever. So when you have a child tax credit, they love it. And then he voted against it because, for whatever reason, even though it still went through, it kind of like is kind of a shitty thing to do.
Well, I mean, we sort of had this discussion,
and that's why a lot of black people don't like him because of that. Older Black people. I'm not talking about the young people. I'm talking the Black people at that time that were young at the time. Remember that, and that's why he can't get the older ones, because they're pissed at him because he voted against it. Like if he ever talks to the intersectionality of it, and he talks to actually brown people and not just the young people, they will let him know that. And a lot of these rich Black men that he's got stumping for him, even though they're preachers and priests or whatever, and they're Black leaders, a lot of them have forgotten where they came from. Let's be real. I mean, they're spoke people, but they've forgotten, like Al Sharpton, et cetera, they've forgotten where they come from. And if you talk to like actually Black activists that are with the Black Lives Movement, et cetera, which he still has a lot of issues with, they will let you know, why they're mad at Bernie. But he doesn't listen to them. He doesn't listen to Kamala supporters. Kamala supporters are still pissed at him. And that's my problem, not just with Bernie, that's my problem with a lot of the so-called white progressive people, because they close their ears just as much as any Trump supporter would to their
To some extent,
to their
yeah.
complaints
Well,
because
Martin Luther King said
all
that
they
about white
hear
liberals, too.
they close their ears to their complaints because all they hear is I'm against Bernie. And that's not what they're saying. They're making legitimate criticisms, and they're saying, how is he going to change that? How is he going to fix that? What's his plan? Are you going to pressure Bernie with us to make him understand intersectionality? Are you going to pressure him to change some of his platform and not just say, oh, we're going to give you this? And yes, will having equality money wise help them? Will having more money help them? Yes, will help. Yes, of course. But they're still going to deal with being a black man in America. They're still going to be dealing with racism. Trans people are still going to be dealing with trans-related issues. And that's another thing. That's another thing that I don't like Bernie for, is because when he says trans...
Well, just give me your list, Kelly.
I'm just saying, when he says gay issues, he lumps it all together. And that's problematic. And when he says LGBT, he sounds just as bad as Trump. Like he's going to regurgitate something. And that's...
Well, they didn't say queers and guys in dresses.
Yeah.
I mean, he fucking, what is it, Joe Rogan? Who was it? Rogan said that?
Yeah. But the trans thing, like the one thing I'll agree with Biden on, like I was so surprised. It was so shocking for the trans community that when he was vice president, and a lot of people don't give him credit for a lot of what he did as vice president, because he actually pushed Obama on the marriage equality thing, on coming out for gay rights, on a lot of things, because he did that interview because Biden is loose-lipped. He says what he wants to say sometimes, and he gets himself in trouble, and he's not supposed to say things. The only reason that Obama became more progressive on the gay issue is because of Biden. And a lot of people don't give him credit for that, and they don't remember that. And then, at one of his...
Did he run on marriage equality though? On his first platform?
Do what?
Wasn't marriage equality on his first platform?
On Obama's? No.
Yeah.
No, he was for civil... He was for civil unions. He didn't become for marriage. He didn't become for marriage equality until he became president, and that was because of Joe Biden. Because he did that interview. You can look it up. He did an interview, and that's when he was like, "Oh." And then the next morning, Obama was like, "Yeah, I'm for it." Basically, he was kind of like forced into it, and Biden knew what he was doing. So. Because what was Obama going to do? He was kind of in a rock and a hard place. He couldn't say, what was he going to say? Oh, no, I don't. Because he had to, it kind of pushed him there. And then when he was doing a stump speech or whatever, as vice president, he said, trans rights are the new civil rights. And that was the first time a vice president ever said that. So...
Doesn't that feel a little pandering to you, though?
No, it doesn't, because the reason he did that is because, you know why he did that is because Sarah McBride worked for his son. And then she also worked for Hillary Clinton, but she worked for his son. He met Sarah many times, and I'm not familiar with her. Sarah McBride was on Hillary's campaign. That's another reason I liked Hillary, because Hillary had trans workers, and she also had a trans coalition that was going to be a trans council to help her on making initiatives and platforms and laws for trans rights and trans people. I wish that Warren and Bernie would do that, but they haven't. Neither of them have. But because a lot of times they think just because they've heard a story or two, they know what to do, and they should really actually listen to the people of that community, because a lot of times they miss out. But in general,
one of Bernie's surrogates is trans. At least one.
I know, but I feel like a lot of trans people have their own versions of what can help what. And that's why you need many of them and not just one, because one person doesn't. We're not monolithic, and we don't all speak for one another. Just like blacks don't all speak for one another. So that's why I liked Hillary's idea, because she was going to have several trans voices from different perspectives, whatever. Some were non-binary, some were trans, and some were whatever. whatever they identify as. I don't know. You know, it's a circus. But anyways, oop. But anyways,
Yeah, sorry, I'm going
that's
into
okay.
East Alabama, so
That's
my signal may be cutting in and out a little.
That's okay. But that's why, you know, but when I find a lot of people think that Warren is pandering, but what I like about Warren is I don't think that she is pandering. I think she is actually trying to listen. She admits that when she's wrong. She talks about intersectionality. She will listen to communities. She'll take pushback and not become arrogant about it or become red-faced about it or become mad about it. And that's what annoys me about Bernie. Bernie does that whenever he doesn't have an answer for something or whenever he's wrong or whenever he's challenged. And that's my big problem with Bernie, too, because I feel like he needs to listen more and open his mind and not. I feel like he just thinks he's got all the answers, and when sometimes he doesn't. And that's why you need smarter people about him. And then I also support Warren is because Bernie himself supported Warren, and he even wanted her. He even He was even checking to see if she could be his vice president and the treasurer secretary because he knows Warren's got the hoops to do it. And so that's another thing. Like, why would I want to vote for Bernie when he knows that Warren can do the job, and he knows that, and he's gonna use Warren's intelligence and intellect anyways if he gets in because he wants their. So
that was the joke about it. Was I always said, I'm like, everybody was like, oh, Bernie was only running for his own ego in 2016. I'm like, Bernie wasn't even his own first choice. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, I don't think they knew that. That's why it didn't. Yeah. But you know, obviously, a lot of leftists are still mad at Warren because she endorsed Hillary instead of him in 2016, and then their stupid little spat, which I think probably did happen, but I think that Warren heard it differently than what he was saying. I think that Warren, he probably said a woman's not going to run against Trump because of misogyny, because of men in general are misogynist. And if you look at the race, who's doing the best? Even a gay man is doing better than women just because he's a white male. You know?
No, I think Warren is up on good attention by a good margin, I think.
Wait, in Nevada right now?
National. Oh, you're talking about, in Nevada? I don't know. I honestly haven't seen the poll results in Nevada yet.
Oh, I'm talking about like in races. Like if you look at races, she keeps on coming in fourth, and Bernie, or I'm sorry, not Bernie, but Buttigieg is doing better than her, and all men are pretty much at the top of the ticket, and it's mostly white men. All the black candidates are out. Anybody of color is out, etc. Because I feel like the country thinks it's going to need to be another white man to go up against Trump. Because I talk to women all the time, and women tell me, "Oh, it's got to be a man." No, a woman's not going to win against. I want to vote for Warren, or Warren or Amy. They say I want to vote for Amy, but a woman's not going to win against Trump. And
that's fair.
Yeah, so because they're worried about because of what happened with Clinton, but Clinton had everything but the kitchen sink thrown at her, like even from Russian crap to a week before the election. Here comes Comey. Like that was a total setup. You know, Comey comes out with a just like what they did with Bernie before the Nevada caucus. Like that was all set up. Oh, it was leaked. Sure. Like, and like they're all saying like, oh, he knew a month ago, and it's like he knew a month ago, but because it's classified information, he can't get it out. He can't put it out himself. He would get in trouble. You know, like there's laws for that. Yeah. But here comes Washington Post leaking it, and that was to help who? It was to help Biden, because they wanted Biden to hopefully do better than what he's been doing, because Biden's a bad candidate. He sits there talking about Hillary all the time, talking smack about Hillary, but I'm sorry, he is a bad candidate. He doesn't debate well. He
how many times has he lost?
Yeah, he's lost like twice. He's lost like twice.
No. He's run for president. I think I heard someone the other day. He has run for president 12 times.
12 times? Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah. He's in 4th place right now, and this is the best he's ever done.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but I just.
That is
But the
sad.
only reason he's done so well is because of Obama.
Obama, yeah,
Yeah, because
totally.
it's the Obama effect because people know him because of Obama. But in general,
I could have a cat named Obama and get 5 points in the polls.
but in general, he's just not a good candidate. Like the way he talks to people is not good. Like the way he, you know, he's offensive himself many times, and people don't take it well. But
he moves.
and then like
that makes me cringe.
And then when he's way too close to the Republicans. Like we're gonna bring our country back to like this, that, and the other. And I was like, no, the Republicans are done. They're gone. Like the Republican, like any of the good Republicans, what we had was probably like Mitt Romney and that Justin Amash guy that left the party, and the rest of and the rest.
You and I are gonna listen. I know you got a thing for Mitt Romney because I read your Facebook.
Well, I meant with some principle. You know, like he at least had some principle to at least say I'm gonna vote, because it doesn't help him at all voting against the Republican Party because they're out for blood for him. Like I would be scared to death of a Republic. I would be more scared of a lynch mob of Republicans than I would be scared of a lynch mob of Democrats, to be quite honest. Because they're the one with the guns and they're very crazy.
They're psychotic.
Yeah, they're psychotic. So I mean, he didn't do himself any favors, even though he's got 6 years. In general, like Trump supporters are crazy.
Yeah, they're psychotic.
I'm talking about the backwood Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I live in Central Florida.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, man?
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying he had some principle, you know, at least, you know, because of the Christian thing or whatever. Mormon. He has some principle, and then Justin Amash has some principle because he switched to independent, you know, and he was a Tea Party guy. That's the craziest. He was like the most conservative part of the Republican Party, you know, and I was shocked that he actually like left because he was like the worst back in the day. Like he was like the head of the Tea Party.
You know why a lot of those guys are leaving the Tea Party now? Is for the same reason that Ted Yoho's guy, the former Republican who was occupying the seat in my district, there is no seat there because Ted Yoho retired. The reason for that is the NRA is going broke.
Oh.
And they're not funding as many people as they used to. So a lot of these hardcore Tea Party guys who got a ton of their money from the NRA, they ain't getting no more money from them. So they're not attached to the Tea Party anymore. That's why Yoho's going bye-bye.
Interesting.
Because that NRA money's running out.
Wow, I hope they keep on going broke.
Yeah. I mean, they're going. I mean, I don't know how broke they're going, but they're on the verge, and they're definitely cutting back on contributions this year. I mean, they contributed. I think it was 2012. I think they contributed like $420,000 to Ted Yoho, and it was an uncontested district, right? It was a solid red district. They gave him $420,000, and he's starting to run out of that money, and they ain't giving him no more, so he's gone. And I think that was the same deal with Amash. NRA's like, yeah, we ain't giving you no more money. So, deuces, Tea Party.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Well, I think he was also tired of, because he talked out against, I think because of his constituents too, he was talking out against Trump for a while, like even before that. I was shocked by Joe, because I'm from Illinois, so Joe Walsh is in my area. When Joe Walsh came out against Trump, I was literally like, what? Like, because he was like the worst of the worst. And when he came out against Trump and he was saying that this is not America, then I was like, okay.
Joe Walsh was?
Joe Walsh.
Was he a pro-bad Tea Party guy? I actually never knew.
He was just a crazy Republican in general. Like, he was just the worst of the worst. The worst.
Really?
Yeah, he was the worst of the worst.
Like, I didn't even know he was a Republican until he came out against Trump. Like, that's how little I knew about him.
Oh, really? Like, in Illinois, we all hate him. or we did. Like, we've forgiven him somewhat.
Your hatred has been moderated slightly.
Yeah. But in general, he was not a good person. But so we were like literally shocked. And then I was also shocked when Joe Scarborough came out and he was like, "Oh, I'm against Trump." Like I was just like shocked by that too, because Joe was a hard right. He's to the party line. So
well, there is that condition. I mean, there is the Amash. There is the there is that element of it. What's his face? Kellyanne Conway's husband. What's his name?
Oh yeah, George Conway. Like I was shocked by
George Conway.
yeah, I was shocked by
guy.
that too. Like I was just like, so there is people that are like trying to, and there's like my uncle and my aunt are hardcore Republicans, and they're voting Democrat for the first time. They're voting for Warren. They like Warren. They like what she has to say. They like the anti-corruption. That's why they're coming over to her side, because they don't like corruption. They don't like Wall Street. They don't like billionaires. So that's what appeals to, and he knows all about like the CFPB, and he knows about like her work.
That is a unifying message between right and left.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. I mean, I've gotten it down now where I can flip a Republican voter in 90 seconds. Okay, I mean, I've gotten really good at it because I've been practicing for the last 2 years. And that the anti-corruption, Wall Street, everybody hates corruption. Everybody hates Wall Street, election fraud. I mean, if you touch any one of those, it's like you got them on your side within a minute.
Yeah, but it's just shocking that the Congress is like so, like they have such a poor rating as a whole. Yeah. But like the Republicans are still lockstep with them. It's just like, what is going on with you people?
Yeah. If you walk up to a Republican voter right now, and I'm going to write a post about this, I'm going to write a blog about it, I'm probably actually going to do a video about it, how to flip Republican voters, okay? The first thing you say is, I hate Congress as much as you do, that's why I'm going there to replace them.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, that will get them on your side immediately. It's like, yeah, man, we hate Democrats. I'm like, yeah, me too. Fuck them. You know? I mean, if you say that and you say, yes, I hate Congress too, I'm going there to fix the mess they're leaving behind, boom, they're on your side right away.
Yeah. Well, I was shocked how many Republicans were fighting for the ACA before John McCain voted. Like there was like Republicans fighting for it. Like they were going to their districts in Kentucky and
some of them were smart.
Yeah, they were like, I want my health care, and but how they did that is they started calling it the Affordable Care Act again, because as soon as you hear Obama, they're all like, oh, because they had been trained by Fox. They've been trained by Fox and Breitbart. Whenever you hear Obama, it's bad.
Oh yeah, it's like a vampire with a cross.
Which is what the most horrible thing is what the news did. I think it wasn't Obama that did it. It was the news that like made it Obamacare. The hashtag.
I think he actually did take that up.
He
did.
I think he actually did. Well, that was stupid of him to do, because if he would have just kept on the ACA Affordable Care Act, I think he would have had a lot more easier time.
Well, you know, like why a lot of us, and they actually sabotaged Obamacare in a lot of the red states, especially Florida, which
I know, but
red.
That was their way of getting people to go against the Obamacare. They didn't want to expand Medicare because that they don't get any benefit from it. So they're like, oh, I'm not getting any health care, and my health care is going up. And it's like, because they're not expanding. That's why your health care is so high. Because I remember hearing that in 2012.
I'm going to, on your Facebook page, I'll link you to this, and maybe you can send it out if you want. I wrote an article, a really harsh article, and I said, why Rick Scott is the greatest mass murderer in Florida history. There are 12,000 Floridians a year have died because he refused to expand Medicaid in our state. I personally know people. I've seen the bodies of people who have died because that son of a bitch wouldn't expand Medicaid in our state.
Rick Scott's another one that's really bad. And so was that Iowan guy, who I think it was the guy from Iowa. He was horrible too.
Not Scalise. Steve King?
No, it was I think it was the governor actually. Rick. I think his name was something.
I know who you're talking about.
I think it was Wisconsin actually. He ran for president.
Different state.
Well, I'm saying it was in Wisconsin.
I don't remember. I'm not familiar with Wisconsin. You're close to Wisconsin, you tell me?
I'm looking it up now.
avoiding a tire in the road, so you're being more productive than me.
Well, I can't remember his name, but he, did a lot of the same thing that Rick Scott does. Is that he knew that the ACA would do well, so he voted not to expand it. He didn't want any help from Obama, like none of the stimulus package, list goes on, because he wanted Obama to look like he was just the most horrible president in the world.
They did that in a lot of states that had red governors.
Yeah,
did the same thing.
Yeah,
they all did it
because it made him look bad. That's what because Mitch basically told him to do that. Mitch McConnell, because they wanted him to fail, because they wanted him to be a one-term president. That was the whole point, a one-term president. And
how many thousands
but at the end of the day, it worked, because look how many seats we lost in the House because of what they did. Not just because of voter suppression, it's because of what they made it look like. Scott Walker, that was his name, Scott Walker. But there's so many people that are disillusioned because of Obama, and they don't give any credit. Well, I'm saying in general, they don't give any credit to any Democrat that's not Bernie, or AOC, or that's a Justice Democrat. They don't even give Nancy Pelosi any kind of credit. They don't give anyone credit unless it's somebody that's progressive, is because they're disillusioned and they think that lobbyists are doing everything. And it's like, it's not just lobbyists that are doing it. It's like, a lot of times it's not just lobbying. It's because they have to vote. They have to get something passed. They're trying to get anything passed. They're trying to do anything for American people, but the Republicans just won't let it happen. There's over 400 bills right now that are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk that aren't going to move off that desk, no matter what they do. They've been passing bills, bipartisan bills, left and right in the House of Representatives, but Mitch is never going to let that happen. But they don't care about that. All they're going to see, a lot of people, not like me and you, that are politically, active, but most people aren't politically active. They're busy watching Kim Kardashian. They're busy watching The Real Housewives. They're busy watching whatever, sports. So what they see is Congress, particularly the House, they're going to look at the Democrats and be like, oh, you guys did nothing for us. That's what they're going to say. They're not going to say Republicans. They're going to say the Democrats did it. And that's the same. And that's the same thing. And that's the same thing everyone does to Obama. Obama did nothing for us. He didn't do anything. You literally hear that from progressives all the time. He did nothing for us. He was a failure. I hear that. I hear that from my colleague of mine, Tiffany Starr, all the time.
Yes, I'm well aware of Tiffany.
Yeah, Tiffany is very, very abrasive, and it's because she listens. It's because, but I think Tiffany listens to a lot of Twitch people like Vosh and
she watches TYT a lot. I know she does.
Yeah. So she watches a lot of them, and they're harsh like that. So she picks up those same talking points, which is what they do. I said to my person, I said to this Bernie supporter, I said, he was like, oh, Warren's not doing that well. And I said, well, yeah, this is her first time out. Bernie in 2016 got to campaign all over America. So he's got some kind of name recognition now, because people that don't watch the news have actually met him or seen him in at least the primaries in 2016. So he's got that for him going. And then on top of it, he's got Young Turks pushing his he's like, the Young Turks is like Bernie is the Bernie network. They barely ever talk about Warren. They don't. I watch Anna, and when they do talk about Warren, the only one that gives her any credit is Cenk Uygur. And Anna Kasparian hates on her all day long. Anna will be like, because Anna will be like, oh, that's not going to work, and that isn't going to work, and that's not going to work. And it's just like, I think that Warren knows. Warren knows what she's doing. She's the one that like I said in the beginning, set up the whole. She's been doing this for forever. Like she's been setting up different parts of our economy. Like a lot of people are talking about, as far like they're saying that Bernie copied her when it's not true, because he's getting a lot of his talking points from what she set up and what she did and what she's done in the Senate against Wall Street and the bankers.
There's a lot of exchange,
and a lot of well, he pulls his stuff out of the Marcus book. She's actually very different. Like her strategies are very different than his. Hers are more hers are more like they're more capitalistic. They're more capital. What she still believes, she's still a capitalist, but and he's a capitalist. I don't understand why people think he's not a capitalist and they call it such socialism, because the UK is not a socialist country. It's still a capitalist country. Canada is still a capitalist country with strong social welfare policies. That's what he should be talking like, but he doesn't do that, and I don't think he should be calling himself. This is how Jeremy Corbyn left. That's what I'm scared of. Like he's going to be a Jeremy Corbyn of America. Because they're already and the press is powerful, and they're already making him out to be the doomsday candidate. And you have Chris Matthews talking about where like the Bernie supporters are going to burn down the street, and he's going to shoot people and the list. I wish we had that kind of enthusiasm. Are you kidding me? They might actually go out and vote. Kidding me? Yeah. So like. That's what like is bothering me already about. They're already painting him like some kind of horrible socialist, communist. Even didn't was it Pete Buttigieg that called him a communist, or was it Bloomberg? I think it was Bloomberg. It was Bloomberg. It was Bloomberg. But Pete's was was kind of like in the same. Just kinder. It was still the same kind of talking point. But they're painting him as like such, so horribly that he needs to push back and be like, no, I'm a capitalist still. I'm still a Democrat, or whatever. He doesn't. Well, those are productive attacks though, because that gives them a chance to come back and say, okay, now we clear up the bullshit. This is where we draw the distinction between communism and social welfare programs. Democratic socialism and communism, no, they're not the same thing. Here's why. Because you're right, he hasn't been saying that. Because really, which is what Warren is trying. Which is smart on Warren's part, because Warren is trying to say that she's a capitalist, and then you see like the mainstream media when they like Vox or whoever does a story on her, they make her sound like she's a capitalist. They're just taking it easy on her because she's easier on them than Bernie. The corporate powers to be are less scared of her than they are of Bernie, so they're taking it easy on her. But I guarantee if she weren't in the race, they would be calling her Buck Che Guevara. No, I think they're more scared of Warren. That's why they're doing a media blackout of her. Like they basically, like whenever you see progressive blackout. They talk about Bernie a lot. Because he's in front. But they ain't got a choice. Well, I mean, in general, they show like her. They don't like she's third in delegates right now, and they don't talk about her. They talk about Klobuchar, and then they talk about Biden, who's in last. And then when you look at all the lineups, when they do like the who's going to win or who's doing this, they always leave Warren out, like from Wall Street Journal to whatever. It's always Klobuchar, Biden, Buttigieg, and Bernie, obviously, and then they leave Warren out. Left off of multiple polls on CNN, like they just hit names and not even get on those polls, and that was when Warren was polling at her peak. When Warren was polling at her peak in December, I remember it was very distinctly in December. She was leading for that brief period where she was leading. They showed her, Biden, Buttigieg. I think it was Klobuchar. Bernie was nowhere to be found. He was in second place. Well, yes, say
Get
why.
back to that.
Let's talk about why she's leave, but why she lost her lead though is because the Young Turk started attacking her and saying that she was going wavy on Medicare for all, when she wasn't. She was just basically changing how she was going to do it because she didn't want to raise taxes on the middle class. So she went and made a plan. Like she's got. That's nothing that bothers me. She's got actual plans. Everyone else has.
No. That wasn't why they turned on her. That was not it. The reason that they turned on her.
Well, that's what Anna Kasparian's whole thing was, attacking her plan, and then she apologizes, not on the air. She apologizes on her Twitter that she got it wrong. She never went on the air because I watch Young Turks because I always like to see the progressive side. I watch Fox News. I like to see the Fox News side. I watch everybody because I want to hear everyone's perspective, because you have to hear everybody's perspective because then you know what everyone's thinking. But I watch, a little bit of everybody. I mostly watch Chris Wallace. I don't watch Chris Wallace. I don't watch the crazies. I don't watch what's that racist guy's name on Fox? I can't think of his name. But I watch, the actual journalist on Fox News. Like,
O'Donnell, I think.
No, I watch that Chris O'Donnell. O'Donnell's from MSNBC.
The guy who replaced Chuck Smith.
Oh, I don't watch him. I watch Chris Wallace.
No.
Chris Wallace is like, he does all the debates like for them, like back in the day. You don't remember Chris Wallace?
Yeah.
He's like the
brown.
He's like the. Yeah. So that's who I watch on Fox News because he usually has a fair assessment, but he's still very right leaning. So like, you get like an idea, and then he'll usually have a crazy Trumper on that will be even more far right. But you get perspective of what they think. And then where I think also Warren made a big mistake is when she said they invited her to come on to Fox News, and then she denied going on the show. And my problem with that is that if we're saying that we're like, my problem with the left sometimes is that we're hypocritical because, now they're all saying Bloomberg, and he's like obviously just as worse as Trump with how he talks. He's a New Yorker, so like that's how New Yorkers, a lot of people in New York do talk like that. That's how they talk. They're abrasive. But in general, he's just he's basically the same as Trump. And then he was a Republican, and he was he's racist. Like, so we're gonna have a Democratic Trump now? Is that the option? That's what the people are saying. But then you also have, what was I going to say? Oh, what was I saying?
Which one?
What was his name? Oh, yes, crazy. You got Crazy Steyer, who I don't know where he stands. He's like, kissing Bernie's butt one minute, and then he's talking bad about it.
He was actually a pretty decent dude, as billionaires go. I mean,
well, yeah, he's like a Bill Gates. Yeah, he's a Bill.
I would actually, if I were going to vote for a billionaire, it would have been Steyer, because he actually strikes me as a halfway decent person.
Yeah, but I mean, all billionaires got there by taking stuff from poor. I mean, they didn't get there just by, whatever. I mean, nobody's clean when nobody's clean when you have that much money. That's
money's only green below $1 billion. Above that, it's great.
Yeah, even Bill Gates, like, he stole, how he got Microsoft, right? He stole from the founder of the iPhone. He stole his computer. He stole his computer, spec, and he just copied it.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember if it was Apple. If it was Steve Jobs.
Yeah, it was Steve Jobs. He stole from Steve Jobs.
Was it Steve Jobs?
Yeah, because I was married before, and it was to a computer science guy, and so I knew this whole story because he was, a nerd, computer nerd. So he was like telling me about like how great Steve Jobs is, and yeah. So
So is this somewhere you divorced?
yes.
Yeah, I can see why.
Huh?
I can see why if that was the conversation you were having.
Well, no, I mean, he just always was, he loved Steve Jobs. Like, he was just like, Steve Jobs is like, it's like everyone that, like, who do they love now? Like, Elon Musk has become the new Steve Jobs, Now it's all about Elon. Now it's all about Elon Musk. But in general, though, it's like, it's these people, like, it's all these people now, like, if you talk to Democrats, even you talk to my husband, we need a billionaire to go up against Trump. We need another billionaire. We need a billionaire because, and you have Joy, even Joy, like, is saying that from The View. Like, Joy is usually pretty progressive, as far as the View, as far as the View ladies go. And now all of a sudden she's like, it's got to be Biden or it's got to be Bloomberg. It's,
It's fear. It's fear.
Yeah.
They're given into fear.
They're given into fear.
They're so terrified of Trump. I think that the way to get rational about this, and this goes sort of back to Sun Tzu, and I'm sorry, not Sun Tzu, but Lao Tzu, in terms of letting go of your fear.
Yeah.
Okay? To become the void and let go of your fear, you cannot see things rationally if you live in fear. They live in such terror of Donald Trump that they're willing to do anything to alleviate it, even if the end result is worse.
Yeah.
Because they're so scared of the individual rather than stepping back and seeing what he actually stands for. They're giving into fear and terror
Yeah.
of a single individual.
Which is why I think Elizabeth Warren would do well against him, because she would point out all of his faults and all of like what he actually did, because she's so good at taking down, like, when you put her up against a billionaire, she's that's her happy place. Like, that's her happy.
I could tell too.
Yeah.
You could tell I was loving that shit.
That's what, like, if you just watch, I wish that more people would watch her on C-SPAN. Like, watch when she actually goes up against, like, these, like, Wall Street and JP Morgan, like, when she goes up against JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo, like, she takes them to like, she doesn't, like,
she's sadistic.
That's her happy place, and that's why she's doing so. That's why she got all that money. Like, she raised like $14 million in just like 2 days, because people were like shocked, because she wasn't doing that any of the other times. She was just too busy being too nice. And then she came out like, "Oh fuck, I have nothing to lose. I'm just gonna come out and start."
And that was great.
Yeah,
that was great. Like, I love somebody who's just sadistic for the sake of being that way.
Yeah,
just for fun. Like, you could tell she was just enjoying the hell out of herself, and I loved it.
And she hasn't let off of him yet either. She's still talking about him, because I think she's so mad that a billionaire is basically buying the election. She's not going after Steyer, though. That's the funny part. She's not going after Steyer.
No, well, I don't know if you follow the same guy that I do. He's on my Facebook name, Tom's Play. Anyway, he's become like this massive. He's got a pretty good following. He's become this massive Bloomberg supporter. And I told him the other day, I said, "Look, dude, Bloomberg is done. As long as Warren's in the race, she is going to come after him and get to the throat every single time." Well,
yeah, and that's what I just, like, for me, like, when I watch him on the debate stage, he's not going to have the chutzpah or the like, everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to be so great against Trump." I'm sorry, Trump is going to own the stage if him and Trump are on the same stage together, because he's soft spoken. Doesn't have very good comebacks, from what I could tell, and like, I don't think that's going to play well with Trump, because Trump needs somebody, like, because that's what my problem with Hillary was. I know she was trying to shield presidential and whatever, but the Hillary of 2008 would have, like, really went hard after him, like, like, she would have gotten sassy and took him to task. But Brian said no. Like, Brian was like, "No, you need to look presidential," and you need, like, they were literally training her. They had, like, a fake Donald Trump person training her how she should go up against Trump. And I think that when she was, like, she even said, like, when he was following her around the stage, like, all creepy, like, when SNL made fun of them when he was doing that, like, if she's like, I wish I would have turned around and said, "Hey, bud, back up," you know. That would have played well with the American public because all they saw was a big man looming over a little woman, and that made him look strong to people. Like when I was talking to men, they were saying that, "No, that makes him look strong," you know. Because I have a lot of Republican fans, like, you know, surprisingly.
Really?
I do. Like a lot of Republican fans love trans porn. Like they're total they're total hypocrites, but they love trans.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, they love, and I have no problem with saying that because I say this to them all day long. Like I don't kiss their ass. I basically tell them that I'm
gonna ask a real dumb question right now because I only know you through Facebook. I know you through like Tiffany and Lilith and our mutual friends, right? I have no idea. Do you actually do porn?
Yeah, I was like one of the biggest trans porn stars from like my era, actually.
Okay, I know nothing. Okay,
I used to be Kelly Shore back in the day. I used to be Kelly Shore back in the day.
Shore?
Yeah, Kelly Shore.
Oh, holy shit, I know exactly who you are.
Yeah, so I used to be Kelly Shore back in the day, and then I changed to Kelly Pierce.
I'm very familiar with you.
Yeah, because we used to have, because I remember the guys that used to be like Kimber versus Kelly, even though we both did totally different scenes. Like it was like she was a bottom all the time, I was a top all the time. So like I don't know why you guys are comparing us. I never understood because it was on Hung Angels all the time. Like they would compare us, and I was like, why are you guys comparing us? I'm like, she's a bottom, I'm a top. Like it was totally, a different spectrum.
I'll be honest, I was always mostly a Bailey J fan of that era.
Oh, I know Bailey. Yeah.
Oh god, she's so fine.
Yeah, I love Bailey. But in general, like what I was saying though is like, I just don't. It has to be fear that everyone is so scared they need to have. That's why, I know the Kamala Harris fans are so mad, but they're not looking at the fact that people, like Trump has really made people scared. Like they're scared what's going to happen. They think a white man is the only one that's going to be able to take on Trump. But then they're like, well, we need another billionaire because we need to hit him where, we need to hit him about his money. Like that's what they all talk about. They're not talking about
that's exactly the
policies. Right? They're not talking about policies. They think they're gonna win because they have a real billionaire on stage. And because he's a real billionaire, it's going to bother Trump and make him look weak. And all of a sudden his supporters are going to be like, oh, he's not a billionaire, so I'm going to join the Democrats, or I'm not going to come out and vote for him. And that's not going to happen because they are so stuck in ground with Trump to the end. Like they're not going anywhere. Like I wish that people would stop thinking that they're going to go somewhere because they're not going to go anywhere. Well,
this fascist billionaire ass is like the one in power.
And it's going to be a he said she, and then on top of it, it's going to be a he said she said because we don't know. We still haven't seen Trump's tax returns. We still don't know a lot about Trump's money, like if he has money or he doesn't have money. We don't know. Like honestly, none of us know.
There's more debt than money.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I'm saying in general, we don't know it because we don't see his bills. We don't see any of that. We don't see his tax returns or, whatever. But people don't care because what they've been told from watching, because many of them watched Apprentice, whether you were Democrat or Republican, people were watching that damn Apprentice show. And so many people got pulled in by that. They were like, oh, he's a businessman. Like, he's a big time person, and he's been scamming people for years on that. Like, people would go to his universities. People would come to his functions and talk and buy business courses from him, and they get scammed, Like, he's been doing that for years for people. He's good at it. That's one thing he's really good at. No, they still haven't caught on. Like, they're really, he's really good at that. And
there was that producer that did that show that actually sort of created the image of Trump as
yeah. They don't realize, but a lot of them don't realize that was a set. That was a set. Yeah. Like it wasn't an actual office building. It was a set.
A lot of that in his original, in the first season when it was done in his original office. I remember hearing about this before. when they first did that, the producer came in there and has been like, "We can't film it here. This looks like some gaudy, like Italian restaurant with cheesy gold crap hanging everywhere."
Yeah.
It's like this guy looks like he went and bought all his shit at like a costume jewelry store.
Yeah.
So like they had to redecorate his entire office to film the first season of The Apprentice because it was so cheap and gaudy looking.
Yeah. And that's what the bad thing is like, you know, that's why I keep on telling people, like, I haven't told my husband this because, like, we don't really argue about politics because it gets heated. But for me, it's like, if you put him up there against him, it's going to be a he said, she said, or he said, I should say. He said, and the Republicans as a whole are going to take Donald Trump's side before they're going to take Bloomberg's side. You know, they all, like, Joy has always talked about, like, oh, he's going to get up there and call him out for not being a billionaire and they're going to change from him. Like, no, it's not going to happen like that. It's not going to happen like that because I think a lot of them know, like, when I talk to my Republican friends that are pro-life, etc., a lot of them know that he's bullshit. You know, they know that he's bullshit. But is he doing what they want him to do? Yes. He's making the Supreme Court go far right. And it's partly because of us. We're helping him do that. You know, Amy Klobuchar has voted for most of his conservative judges. You know, and then on top of it, whenever we dissent from one another, whether it be an establishment Democrat or it's a Bernie or whatever, we vote against ourselves because we split our party and then we're like, oh, I'm not voting for them. I'm going to vote for whoever. And then the Supreme Court goes even more far right because it's up for grabs. And Ruth Ginsburg is not going to live forever. She's got to retire here soon or die.
I know. You know what? We're all.
She's literally the only reason she's staying in right now is because of Donald Trump. She would have been gone already.
We are keeping Ruth Bader alive by the force of our collective will.
Yeah, that's the only reason she's there. And I think that we're gonna, if it's not the Bernie Bros or whatever, or Bernie fans that mess it up, it's gonna be the Clintonites or the people that are Kamala Harris fans that are gonna say, I'm not voting for Bernie no matter what, you know, like, so it's gonna be, no matter what, people are gonna, like, I'm not gonna vote blue because of and then who wins? Trump. And then he's going to get more Supreme Court judges, and Republicans know this. Republicans love this. And then what's going to happen? Roe versus Wade is gone.
Okay, well,
LGBTQ rights are gone.
All right. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. First, you may appreciate this because, like Warren, I have a plan for that. It's called the Government Transfer Finance Office. What we do is we take all these Supreme Court justices, all federal justices, every justice in the world, in America, right? And we offer to transfer them to ambassadors of Ecuador, paying 3 times whatever they're making as federal judges. They just have to retire their judgeship so we can replace them. They can work from home. They never have to do anything in their lives. They just collect a check, making 3 times what they are as federal judges. Just get the fuck out. Government Transfer Finance Office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's my plan for that. Now, secondly, as far as Roe versus Wade goes, I don't think that should be left as a Supreme Court decision. That needs to be an amendment.
Well, that's why I was saying if I ran for Congress in 2022, whatever, what I would run on is amendments, because I think, you know, we definitely need amendments anyways, because for every minority that there's ever been, we've made amendments for them, like women, Black people, and the list goes on. So LGBTQ people, we're not really protected under civil rights. That's how Donald Trump is getting by with it. They say that we are. It's a given. Oh, civil rights are for you, but technically it was really for brown people. It wasn't for gay people or LGBTQ people. So they need to amend it anyways so there's specific LGBTQ protections for LGBTQ people. And then we also need to amend it to make sure, like, we need to start. That was the point of the Constitution, anyways. It was supposed to be amended. Our founding fathers wanted us to amend it, anyways. So as time went on, we would make better rules or make more rules to make sure that we're keeping ourselves accountable, so we don't become a like England. We don't have a queen or a king or whatever. So I would definitely run on like amendments on a lot of things, like as far as like we should be amending for the DACA people. Like why aren't we like, it's not enough to like do reform. Those DACA kids should be, they should be protected. And obviously Congress isn't going to do it, especially if we keep the filibuster. They're not going to do it. That's I get tired. That's what I get tired of Democrats promising bullshit, because they're promising bullshit because it's not going to happen. And that's what I get mad about. That's what I'm scared about Bernie with too. Is I'm scared about the disillusionment with Bernie. Bernie's got all these kids excited. They really does have all these kids excited, just like many were excited with Obama. Because, and they're hearing, I'm going to get free public schools. I'm going to get free this. I'm going to get free that. Even though it's not free, it's taxes. But there's, we're going to tuition free, yada, yada. But if that doesn't happen in the 4 years, or if he gets another 8 years, and it doesn't happen those 8 years, it's going to go right back to Republicans, and then a bunch of disappointed people that are not going to be like in their 20s, and by then they're going to be in their 30s. And then it's going to be a bunch of Ron Paul, angry ass people, because that's basically what a lot of them are. A lot of them are old Ron Paul supporters. Because I talked to them, and they're like, "Oh, I supported Ron Paul." A lot of college kids.
I actually used to like him too.
Yeah. So, and well, yeah. But that's what I'm scared about, is that once, if that doesn't happen, if he doesn't get anything passed because he doesn't have the Democratic establishment or the more moderate establishment on his side, and he doesn't have the Republicans on his side, and Mitch is still in there being a dickhead and saying he's not going to let anything pass. I just don't know why we aren't. I think we worry as far as the Democratic Party goes, we worry way too much about who's president, and we don't worry enough about who's in Congress. Because the only reason why a lot of these congressmen have their seats that are Republican is because we don't show up at the polls during.
Well, that's the entire reason.
Yeah, because we don't. And young people, if they want things to change, they can't. It's not just about the president. They have to get out and vote for their congressmen or whoever, even their local people. They need to start voting for them.
There's another side to that, though. I don't want to ask if it's impolite, but I assume you're in your upper 20s to lower 30s.
I'm 37.
Woo! I estimated low.
Yeah, I'm 37.
Okay, so you're 37. Okay, so you're a millennial, not by much. But
Yeah.
Like me, you are a later millennial.
Yeah.
Okay. Then here's the thing we need to remember is that when we talk about, and I sort of reject this framing. I say this.
Hi, Megan. I just wanted to say her. Megan Chevalier is in here.
What?
Megan Chevalier is in here. I think I pronounce her name wrong all the time. She'll probably yell at me.
Hi, Megan. I don't know who you are, but hi.
She's a porn legend. She's a trans porn legend.
Oh, well, I don't know who anybody is, but it's nice to meet you too. You wouldn't think as much as I've watched, I'd actually know everybody's names.
You probably know her. You'd probably know her if you saw her face. I think that a lot of guys don't pay attention to our names. They just look at our bodies.
Gee, thanks. I appreciate that. That was awesome.
I'm just saying.
Here, kiddie pool, you are this shallow.
I think they pay more attention to our dicks.
Listen, I do know you more by your face. I actually haven't looked at many of your body pics. Like my dad actually recognize you.
But I think that they pay more attention to our downstairs and our, whatever. But yeah, I just think that in general, I'm just worried about disillusionment. Like my biggest thing is disillusionment, because what happened with Obama is disillusionment. Because
okay. Well, let me get back to what I was saying about millennials. This goes to that point. Okay, I sort of reject that framing about the kids just don't get out and vote because the kids are apathetic when they don't vote. That is part of it, but you got to remember too that all of the voter suppression efforts right now, what we're looking at for voter ID, gerrymandering, all this stuff. Everything we do for voter suppression is aimed at who? Primarily, it's working people, it's poor, middle class, minorities, women, and LGBT. Okay?
Correct.
That's who all of these suppression efforts are aimed at.
Right.
What is our generation overwhelmingly? We're poor, working class, brown, LGBT, and female.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
I'm glad that Stacey Abrams is actually fighting that though.
Is she talking about the age, about how it affects the age and within the generational?
Who, Stacey?
Because that is also intersectional. Yeah, yeah.
No, she actually has like a bill in process that she's getting a lot of hate for because Bloomberg donated a lot of money towards it. She was on The View the other day. She's just. I hope that someone picks her for VP because I think she'll bring out a lot of the black vote.
I think if I'm thinking of her, I don't know if I'm thinking of her, Tia Turner, but I think it's Tia Turner. That Bloomberg was floating her as a VP.
Do you hear him now? Sorry.
I heard somewhere the other day
That
Bloomberg would consider her as a VP.
Oh, I don't know if I'd vote for Bloomberg even then. I don't know. I'm so mad at him for calling. I'm still so. It's a trans activist. I mean, I'm gonna vote for him. I know I'd vote for him if he won because I have to for my community. I have to vote blue no matter who. But it would definitely be me plugging my nose the whole time and closing my eyes while I did it or whatever.
Yeah.
Because when he called trans women its and men in dresses, that just like really pissed me off. And then when he said that brown people are the reason the housing market crashed, I was just like, okay.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
That was just too much for me. But to me, it's like voting for Trump, but only because he's a Democrat. Like we're giving him, we're basically he's the Democrat Trump. That's what he is. So
it's not even that. I heard somebody say earlier today that him and Trump are just two sides of the same fascist coin. Trump is the big, loud, clowny public relations side, but Bloomberg's more like he's like Himmler. You know, he's the quiet guy in the back who actually gets shit done because he's smart.
Yeah.
But he's just as fascist. He's just as evil in certain ways as Trump. He's just smarter about it.
Well, I know that I know a lot of Republicans liked him as mayor, like because I have a few Republican fans that are from New York, and they talk about like, oh, he's good, I'd vote for him.
Of course they did.
And I said, well, he was a Republican, of course you would vote for him.
Yeah.
And he's like, he made the crime go down. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he did. But if you look at the record, like a lot of them weren't armed, which is it's still happening, where a lot of black men are pulled over and they're not armed, or they're killed and they're not armed. And it's still going on. Like it's still a very big problem. Even with the cameras on their body, it's still a big problem. And it's also disgusting how, because I come from a cop family and like I said, a military family and a cop family. Like, you know,
Republicans and all.
Yeah, because Republicans and all. But when I think it's kind of a given for many times if you come from a military family, a lot of your family is Republican for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
I just assumed.
Yeah. But the problem too is that we teach these police officers to be militant. Like that's what because my uncle, he's a chief of police, and he was saying, like, you know, the way they train now, he's like, I have to untrain them when they get to the police department because they're trained to be militant.
Well, they're only half trained. They're only half trained. That's the problem.
Yeah, he's
like they're trained to act like military people, but they're not trained to actually have courage and discipline like military people.
Yeah, well, they're also they're not taught to be courteous either. They're supposed to be peacemakers. Like my uncle would say, they're supposed to be peacemakers. They're not supposed to be like going around shooting people, shooting to kill and everything else.
It's crazy. If you look at a picture of a cop of a SWAT team, right? Cops going through a neighborhood. They got their guns up, pointed at everything that moves, right?
Yeah.
A fucking army squad in Afghanistan is just strolling through the streets with their guns pointed down. They're getting actually shot at.
Yeah.
And they got their
Well,
guns
and I
pointed
think
towards the
part of it too is like they pit too young of. I think there should be an age limit, on how old you have to be a cop. Because I think sometimes people they pit too young of men as police officers, and because
I
of
think
that,
it's the other way around.
you think it is?
Yeah, I think it's too old.
I think
I think
it should be 25 and older, because I meet a lot of like under 25-year-old cops when I used to live in Central Illinois, and they're just so immature and not just immature, racist. I mean, when you come
Really?
from rural areas, yeah,
Yeah, okay, I can see that in rural areas.
yeah, because I come from like the backwards of. I come from like the middle parts of Illinois.
Yeah, same.
And they're always like, black people are criminals, black people are on like food stamps, and the list goes on. All the
You're talking about around like Peoria, right?
yes.
Yeah, that's them. I know them
Yeah.
well.
So,
Okay.
but in general, like my uncle was saying, like they're taught to be militant, they're taught to be they're taught to shoot to kill. Like I always asked him, like, why don't they shoot them in the leg? Why don't they shoot them in the arm, or why don't they shoot them where like it's not going to kill them, but it's definitely going to make them stop.
Because that increases the risk to yourself. I mean, your odds of stopping somebody, and I know because I've done stuff, and I shoot a lot too. I had a lot of guns. If you shoot towards somebody's legs, your odds of knocking them down with one shot are much lower. You have a higher success rate shooting towards the center of mass. So that's where you're taught to aim, like when you shoot towards the center of mass. So that's why.
Well, yeah. But my uncle's like, I've never shot anybody, like, because he's the chief of police of El Paso, Illinois. Like it's 2,500 people. It's like not. He's like, I just can't. But he's like, some of these cops. He's like, some of the people on my force. He's like, they'll pull guns on people. Like Megan just said. Remember when they used to just ask? Where did it go? Where'd the comment go?
I don't know. You tell me.
The comment disappeared. Well, she said, remember when they used to ask for your driver's license and registration? Now they ask if you have any weapons in the car, and then your driver's license and registration. So
really, I thought that was just a Chicago thing.
But that's what they do now. Like especially in Chicago. Like in Chicago, they're horrible.
Joliet's words.
However, I've always had like a good time with like police officers have always been nice to me for some reason.
Oh, imagine that.
So I don't.
Pretty blonde girl.
Even when I didn't have my like when I was younger, like when I'll be totally honest, like my name change was the last thing I did. Like I worried more about getting my surgeries and my transition, and I wasn't really concerned about changing my name because I knew I was going to be in porn. So I thought I would, if the name got out, it would. I wasn't really worried. So I was like, if I'm going to change my name, I should wait until I'm, about to be done with the porn industry. So, because what am I going to do again is go and change it again. Like, oh, sorry, I have to change my name again because of XYZ.
Wait,
so
you kept your original name like the whole time you're doing
yeah,
porn?
and I used to get like kind of a laugh out of it or a thrill out of it because my old name was after my dad, so it was Donald. Like I have no issue with saying what my doesn't embarrass me at all.
Yeah.
Like it used to be Donald. Like obviously I was born a
you
boy,
don't as a Donald.
so it's just a fact of life. So it was Donald, and so I remember like talking to people, and they would just be like, "Oh, I used to know a girl named Dawn, or I used to know a person named Donna." Or like they didn't even like they didn't put two and two together. Like that's what was so funny to me. Like they wouldn't like literally they wouldn't think, oh, this is a trans woman I'm talking about, even though it said the name Donald. You know what I mean? Every once in a while every once in a while they would catch on, but it wasn't like it was embarrassing for me. At times, they were just like, "Oh, you look good for what you are." Like, I don't like, maybe because I transitioned younger, I didn't take offense to it. Like,
well, when did you start?
well, I started in like the 90s. Like, I was 12 years old when I transitioned, and I went to,
okay.
and
So
I went to high school openly as trans, so I kind of like got over the bullying part of it, because like by the time I was a junior year, you know, everyone was friends with me and everyone was fine with it pretty much. But obviously, my freshman and my sophomore year, it was like, you know, everyone was trying to push back against me, and I didn't really fight them. I didn't like really like say anything or react to it. I just laughed at them, or, you know, whatever. Because I feel like if you just fight with them, it's going to agitate them more. And then I just was me unapologetically, and I just did what I wanted to do. And then by the time I was my junior year, they were like, okay, they kind of got used to it. But so like when I got older, like when I was like in my 18, 19, 20-year old, I never really got triggered like the way a lot of trans women do nowadays. Like, I think Megan and we come from a different time. Like, me and Megan, like, we come, like, when we look at a lot of our young trans, I don't want to call them our daughters, but a lot of our young trans youth, because I have proteges, like, I just look at them and like what they get upset and triggered about. I'm just like, girl, you have it so much easier. Like, I literally had to fight. I was 12 years old fighting a school, like all adults, because my mom had cancer at the time, so she couldn't really fight for me. That's why I had to go back to, because at first she home taught me, and then she got cancer, so she couldn't do it anymore. And they were like, well, we want to send you to an alternative school. And I'm like, I'm not going to an alternative school. I want to go here. I'm like, I can't, my mom can't run me back to Bloomington back and forth, because I lived in the suburb of Bloomington, which was El Paso, Illinois, and Bloomington was a big city. So I was like, I can't go back and forth like that. So what they did is they made, just for me, and then they had other kids in it eventually, they made an alternative class for me, which was like people with disabilities, not disabilities, but with learning behaviors, like ADD, ADHD, et cetera, like people that were disruptive. They weren't unintelligent. They just were they would be disruptive in classes.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I was in one of those classes.
Yeah. So it was like based on
They put you in a special ed class because you were trans? Because
I was trans, because they were worried about my safety, is what they said. So like I was fighting them from like
that's not your fault.
I was fighting them from like 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, against like superintendents, like the principal, the psychologist, and they sent me to like different psychologists like 3 times, like to make sure I wasn't crazy. They were like, and then each time the counselor, the psychologist would come back like, oh, she's fine. So they're like, oh, we need to send you to another one. And then it came back, oh, she's fine. And then it came back the 3rd time, and they're like, oh, she's fine. So they really couldn't argue against it anymore. So I would have to like write these big long speeches, like, you know, at like 14, like trying to fight like these adults all against me. And by the time I was like in my sophomore year, it got kind of notoriety. And so then it became, I didn't want to become notarized for it or whatever. So I would like, they would call me, like WHOI News, which was my local news station, would come to the school trying to get me on camera, and the school would call me and tell me, oh, the news station's here, so I would stay home. And so then I would go to school the next day or whatever. So I was basically running away from like the news thing. And then they would have like, at the time, Maury Povich and Jerry Springer wasn't Jerry Springer. It was more of a actual like talk show like Maury Povich. So they were trying, and so they were trying to like contact me to go on the show and tell my story, and I refused, because I wanted the kids to see me.
So you were like,
but I wasn't doing it for attention. I was doing it because it was who I am. You know what I mean? So
did they let you use the girls' room there?
No, I used the teacher's lounge for a while, and then they made my own special bathroom on the bottom floor. So that was kind of cool. That was the benefit of it.
That is actually kind of awesome.
Yeah, I got to use my own bathroom. But now, like, they let trans kids go there just fine. Like, gay people, trans kids. There's trans kids that'll pass with school now, and it's totally fine. And I had some people apologize to me, and it's like when I look at these trans kids nowadays, and I think how easy they have it. Like, there's you can see trans celebrities now on TV besides on Maury Povich. Like, when back in the day when Meg and I were younger, our claim to fame was like being on Maury Povich for the Man and Woman show. Like, you're a man, you're a woman, whatever. That was our claim. Like, that was your big successful claim to fame if you were on Maury Povich on one of those damn shows. Or you were the tranny escort on some kind of cop show that got killed or whatever. Yeah, Law and Order or something. That was like your claim to fame. I think Candace Cain was like the one that got like the first big mainstream. Like, she was still like a mistress. So, like, it wasn't. She was still a mistress. Like, she was still like not like a proud woman to be. Even Laverne Cox's character wasn't like she was a prisoner. Whatever. But it's better than what you're getting. But it's getting better and better. But in general, it's much better than what it was then. And then in the 80s, it was even more horrible. You know what I mean? Like, in the 80s, in the 70s. But when I look at these trans kids and when you say it gets better and they roll their eyes, I'm like, sweetie, it's getting better. And yeah, I know that Trump is in office now, but like, it's still not as bad as it was in the 90s. It's still not as bad as it was in the 80s.
I'll tell you what, boys. Cis privilege is real. Cis privilege is real. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I distinctly remember the '90s not sucking that much for me.
Well, I mean, you're a white man.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, boy, privilege is real. You hear shit like that, I'm like, man, I just got mad because I wore a trench coat in high school most of the time. That was my impression. Like, you had it for real. Like, no, we're sending you to a psychologist.
But I mean, they wanted to prove they wanted everything to prove that I was like, making it up or attention or I was weird or what. I'm just too young to know what I am. That was their whole thing. And then they were like, well, we'll compromise if you dress gender neutral. And gender neutral was like, you could wear a boy short, boy or girl like t-shirt or boy or girl shoes or whatever, and then you can get out of your classes. But I never did that. My mom was like, no, we're going to dress you as slutty as possible. So I would be wearing like there was no dress code really. So I'd be wearing like belly shirts to school. Because at the time,
was this in like Central Illinois?
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, so I was wearing like belly shirts to school, and I was like stuffing my because didn't have my hormone. I was taking the hormones, but I was like didn't have my hormone titty, so I was like 17, 18. I had like B cups, like little bitty B cups.
Oh, that's great.
But
were they still like, no, she's confused when she's
but I used to stuff my bra
so
like
confused.
Huge. Like they thought I had my boobs done, but I used to stuff my bra like probably like the size I have now, with like scarves or whatever, with those little like Victoria's Secret chicken cutlet things over on top. And they all thought I had my boobs done or whatever, and I was like wearing like sluttiest clothes and so I would always like not meet the criteria to go outside of the classroom or whatever. Which I thought was hilarious.
You know what? I'm not entirely sure because I know you did this in Central Illinois. Let it be on the record. I don't exactly know how big your balls are, but I'm sure they're bigger than mine.
Yeah, so it was, but I wasn't. I think the reason I wasn't scared though is because I just felt so. Finally, like I felt like me. Like I didn't. It wasn't. I didn't feel scared because I felt like if I was gonna die or if I was gonna get hurt today, I'd rather die or get hurt like this than live a lie. Like to me, it was scarier to live a lie than it would to be who I am. So
and you know what? That's what other people will never understand what courage really is.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like I've dated a couple of trans girls, and I've always said I'm like, you know, I respect courage more than anything. I detest a coward.
Yeah.
And it takes so much courage to do that. I'm not even on that level. I've been shot at. I lived in the street. I was homeless. I'm still not on that level. You know, I respect the shit out of that like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, it's just but for me, like, I just wish that black trans women got as much like got as much praise. They're getting it now. Like you see more black trans women and brown trans women in Hollywood movies and stuff. Like literally, which is great. But I think that in general, like brown women in countries, they don't get her. Sorry, in cities and stuff when they live in those very black homophobic communities, they're doing the same thing I did, but they're doing it in a very more dangerous. Like I was with white men, you know, white high school boys and white backwood boys, but they're with like black men that are obviously have guns and they're drug dealers and, you know, very homophobic because, you know, it's all about being a man and like, you know, that's so like they're even more brave than I am because, you know, but a lot of times they don't get any kind of recognition for it. Like I talked to one girl that when I did Angelica Ross's, I don't know if you know who that is, Angelica Ross, she invited me to do a speech at one of her trans tech events. And she was talking to me, like, I've been, you know, living here and I want to be a trans activist, but no one gives me the time of day. And I was like, well, I'm surprised. I'm like, because if you are living on the south side of Chicago, looking, I don't want to say looking as she did, but I'm just saying she wasn't very passable. To me, that was brave. And she was talking about how she got beat up all the time and, you know, got hurt. And she was well-spoken. Like, it wasn't like she wasn't well-spoken or anything. But I feel like sometimes, even in the activist community, it's about looks. I mean, that's a problem I have with a lot of trans community. Like, I understand it for the porn community. I understand it for the escort community because, you know, we're shallow and whatever. But when it comes to the activist community,
I didn't mean to agree with you like that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying when it comes to the activist community, when they're acting like that, I'm just like, okay, all right, like that's just weird to me. But she's on my friends list now. She's probably listening, but she's the sweetest girl, and I tried to introduce her to other trans activists, and she was like, nope, they're not biting. They're not biting. Like, and I just thought that was just so weird. But a lot of times they don't give brown women or brown trans women the opportunities that they give a white trans woman. Or they need to have a story, some kind of big story, like, oh, they transitioned at so-and-so time, or they made news headlines. We praise the people that made a news headline. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous.
Tragedy porn.
Yeah. It's sad, really, because they don't give the people that live it every day any kind of credit. I'm going to sign out and then sign back in. Give me a second, because I have to...
Are you talking to me?
Yes. Because I have to sign out and sign back in. All right. From the radio show, not with you. Not from the radio show, not with you.
So I gotta hang up?
No, you can stay on.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I gotta set my phone down for a second. I'm gonna put you in speaker.